The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode of the Cosplay Alliance podcast may contain coarse language or sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
I don't think that anyone would ever use coarse language in this group. That is
Never.
false. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cosplay Competitions Exposed. I am your moderator, Avera Cosplay. The purpose of this, I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the cosplay community insofar as negative opinions, drama, tea, blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to get really what is, I would consider a masterclass of cosplay competitors and judges to really kind of talk through some of the misconceptions, talk through what it's really like, and why we do this crazy thing called competing. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves and, go through their thing. I will warn you, if you aren't like honest about how amazing you are, I might step in and like edit. So I'm Avera. I'm a big fan of everybody here, and I make stuff out of foam. Plexi.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
I'm Avera. I'm an armor maker. I'm a goblin queen and a chaos person, but I really, I don't think I would be in cosplay competitions if it wasn't for competing, because one, the community, and just like it gives me something to kind of really strive for and gives me reason to improve. So it's really close to my heart. It's like my favorite part of cosplay, and it also has introduced me to all the people here, and they're all amazing and inspire me from the time I was a little baby weeb novice, watching on a screen to being backstage and being judged by some of you guys. It's truly an honor. So, thank you again. All right, there you go. Plexi.
Great. I'm Plexi Cosplay. I started in competitions as a competitor, and now I do a lot more judging and workshops. It's way more fun for me and less stressful. And I like being around all of the people that are in this group and the people who go to competitions. That's the reason that I started, was because I wanted to be next to and near the people that I admired the most. And so now I get to rub shoulders with them all the time. It's a true honor and a privilege, and I look forward to it every time, and I don't take any of it for granted.
Aww.
Your biggest win was TwitchCon, right? Or you won at New York City, you've won at TwitchCon, and you also judged at C2E2 and New York City, correct?
Yeah, I've done a lot more judging now than I have with winning competitions. I've never taken a best in show at a major convention. Yeah, I've always taken my categories and never a best in show yet. And probably never, because I'm done competing.
Awesome.
Right.
And Ginoza.
Hi, I am Brittany Ginoza, and I'm known online as Ginoza Costuming, and I do foam things, sewing things, a little bit of everything. Probably my biggest thing that I've done is I won the TwitchCon costume contest best in show in 2022, and other awards and things. But I love competitions. Competitions are my absolute favorite part of cosplay. It gives me something to work towards, a deadline. I don't always meet the deadline perfectly, and I'm a procrastinator, so having that deadline is like epically important for me. And also this community is like generally not toxic. Like there's those couple of people, but it's generally very like everybody's super chill and they just want to learn from each other, and I just love this community.
Thank you. And Miss Casey.
I'm Casey Renee. I won TwitchCon 2018, and I have won a lot of other contests before that. But now I mostly judge, but more than that, I do workshops. Teaching is kind of my passion. I really love it. And I have a book called Cosplay Foundations, where I teach you how to make corsets and hoop skirts and things. And then I also have a YouTube channel where you can kind of follow along like all the things I make. And yeah, I like to judge, and I will compete again at some point when I have a costume that makes me want to compete.
That's awesome. I have your book. I should grab it.
I have it right
Promote
here.
it. Okay.
I have everyone's books.
I have everybody's book. I have Beverly's book.
Go get it.
My book.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
There it is.
Mine's at my house. It's in my
I have
drawer
a-
at my house.
I have Jedi. I have Amanda's too. I have everybody's
Bam.
book. Yeah. Boom. All right. Jedi Amanda, you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. I'm Amanda. I go by Jen Amanda online. Cosplay is not my full-time gig. I do it purely as a hobby that is solely taking over my life. But as far as competition goes I'm pretty much full hog. I do that as much as I can. My biggest winning probably to date is by ICL qualification for the International Cosplay League this past year. I was 1/3 of Team USA, which is really cool. Going international for costume contests, which I think is a big topic among a lot of people. I'm excited about that. And yeah, I've written 2 books. Both on creative cosplay, kind of at a beginner level and at a advanced level.
Yeah.
These 2 books?
Yeah, just 2 books.
Just the 2?
Just I have no more info.
You guys don't want to know, like the library of cosplay books. I have every like single one of Camille's. Like I just acquire books, and they just sit here, and I just read them for fun.
It's nice.
Really sad.
They're like little trophies.
They're
They're like the new cool Pokemon collecting cards of your friends.
Plus, we all know everybody that's in them, so that's like even better.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right, cons from Pros and Cons Cosplay.
Cons having a hard time.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that is Frozen then.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We will.
Avera in the chat on Instagram, they are trying to be let in.
Yep.
Okay. I don't see them in here. We are professionals.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't see that. Can I? I'm going to hide her for a second.
For now.
Yeah. This is, yeah. And then I don't see cons or pros. I only see con. Just FYI, if you're listening.
Oh, were they both there?
Pro is waiting to be let in, is what she's texted us.
Okay, cons just rejoined. This is great. This is live entertainment. This is actually what competing in cosplay is actually like.
Moving.
Hey,
we got one.
Yay!
This basically tells that this is not scripted,
Yeah, I do not
yes,
see
very much.
I don't see pros in the lobby, FYI. Just you. So
Just the con.
yeah, just the con.
Yeah.
And I cannot hear you.
Okay, we cannot hear you now.
Don't
You're
worry.
not
We're gonna just
fix
yeah. Yep, we'll fix it. We'll just keep going. All right, Samir, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Samir. I also go by Samir Tikka Masala. And I also started cosplaying like through competitions. Like the first time I cosplayed was because I wanted to take part in a competition in India. And I have won a few cosplay competitions. Like in India, I've won quite a few, but internationally, I came second in Smite Global Cosplay Competition. I came first in a cosplay competition in Malaysia. I came second in a cosplay competition in China, and a few online cosplay competitions. But yeah, so I have been competing ever since I've been cosplaying, and recently I've had the good fortune of judging some really good cosplay competitions internationally. Yeah. So yeah, I love cosplay competitions.
I love cosplay because you love cosplay. We've seen it. We've all seen it.
We know.
You're forever gonna go down as like an icon because of that one little like pass the brush video.
No, but it's honestly true. Like I think like I'm not gonna jump in like directly, but like a lot of people I have met over here like is because of cosplay competitions. I'm not from US. The only one here not from US. So like I have all these amazing friends because of cosplay, and like it blows my mind, like how I'm able to have friends all over the world, and it's all because of cosplay competitions and cosplay. So I absolutely love everything about it.
That's great. That's so great. All right, we will get now to Beverly. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Yes, I'm Beverly, and I'm realizing I should have put down Creative Studios in my little name tag because everyone else did.
You could
But
like
I'm also
change
down
that.
in Creative Studios. Yeah, that's okay. You know, it's funny.
Down in-
Most of the time, Dowing, Dunin, Dowinen. But I've been cosplaying for about 10 years, and when I started competing and did my local convention, and then I got my whole family involved. Actually, I kind of like cosplay kidnapped them into wearing the things that I would make. So I was like really, really competitive and really like driven to doing that and doing a good job. But then I realized, and I think I heard this from somebody in the community, that competing against yourself is a little bit more rewarding. And so that kind of shifted my attitude towards competing, because it's very, very stressful for me. I like would just lose my mind the day of competitions. And like even just thinking about competing makes my heart race. Even though I loved it, I loved the experiences, I loved meeting people, I loved having that that goal, that deadline to push me to finishing. But for me, it's kind of an unhealthy thing. And I realized that I really enjoy being on the other end, of the other side of the table a lot more. I love the discussions with makers about how they made things. I love learning new things. I love hearing about the passion behind creating the thing and the reasons why they chose the material. And I love that engagement so much more. And I've also found that being a judge pushes me to further my own skills in different ways. Like the year that I was invited to judge C2E2, I realized that I didn't have a lot of sewing experience, and I didn't have a lot of the terminology down. And so I studied. So I actually have turned things around for myself a little bit, and decided to use the competitions, judging competitions, which I do a lot more of now, and to help me become a better cosplayer as well. It also helps me plug myself into the community a little bit more, to see what people are doing, how they're doing it, and I don't know, I just enjoy it so much more. But I did compete, and I did place several times when I was first starting out. And actually, the last time I did a big competition, I think it was the day before Sheeprop was founded, which is a story that I can tell later. But yes, Emerald City Comic-Con 2018. I think that was the last time I placed. I placed second, and it was a great show. But at the time, I did not have a good time. Like in the days following, just because of all the drama. So anyway,
well, we're going to get into the drama.
That's me.
You're definitely
That's me. Happy to be here, and I just want to say thank you to all of the people that are on this panel right now, or in this my little view. I respect the heck out of all of you, and I have learned so much from judging next to some of you, and I hope to judge next to the people that I haven't judged next to, because it's always such an honor to learn from everybody. So
it's so funny too. Definitely. We'll definitely talk about that, because you don't realize that you're going to learn so much. I learned way more from judging next to people than I ever did competing with people. Like so much more. I was like, okay, and I know terminology of things that I can never do.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, it's kind of funny. All right, Con, you want to go for pros and cons? Can we hear you? Oh my gosh. Whatever you did before that.
They're both muted right now.
Are they?
I'm
like
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry,
there you go.
On your mic isn't working at all. I can speak for us, I guess, since we're here. Sorry. So I'm one half of Pros and Cons Cosplay. Con and I have been competing and cosplaying for, I think, getting close to 20 years now, which is crazy bananas to think about. It's great. Love the cracking joints. But anyway, it's been a really wonderful ride. We've had the pleasure and sometimes chaotic just festivity of competing in lots of different contests, but also running several shows, as well as judging. So we kind of get a really unique opportunity to see cosplay contests from a 360 lens. And I think kind of to Beverly's point, like competing is one thing. It's very, very challenging, but when you can occupy a couple of different hats, either through judging or show running, it gives you a much better understanding of yourself as a cosplayer, right? Like things that used to irritate me, I'm like, oh, this actually isn't that big of a deal now that I show run and can understand like where pitfalls or like errors or whatever happen. Makes you a much more patient person, I think, too, when you judge and when you compete. So getting to see all those lenses has been really, really wonderful. Both of us, like I said, we've been competing a lot as well. That's one of my primary drivers in cosplay these days, is really just getting to build and create and make cool, shiny things on stage. It's nerve-wracking, but it's also a lot of fun. It's the best way to meet folks. Just incredibly talented people, incredibly driven people. You learn so much wild stuff just in green room. So I don't know. I really, really love it. So yeah, I think, does that cover everything? Does that bio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. Am I heard now? Can I be heard?
Yes, we are heard.
Yay.
Yay! Okay, yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. We have worn many hats in the cosplay scene, and it's only made us, I think, better competitors, better showrunners, better judges, like all the things. I'm the founder of the Cosplay Contest Support Group, which is both my favorite and least favorite thing in the world. But I think, again, from a showrunner perspective, like I learned so much of many things that I would never have thought to ask as a beginner. Because I've been in the game for so long, I'm just like, I don't even care about half of these things. I just read the master's part and move on with my life. But it's actually made me think a lot more about what some of the questions that folks might have, and it makes me a better showrunner because of it. So yeah, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to judge and showrun and wear all the different hats in the cosplay scene. It's just given me such a great perspective, and again, to meet so many wonderful people. So I'm very thankful.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna kind of zip through some like intro to cosplay kind of competition stuff that I just kind of want to run through. If anybody has anything to kind of jump in and add, thank you, Samir, for coming back to us. I know, look at who's in the front and center of this. I did not have time to edit. I did not have time to edit this to be a little bit more all of us on here, but I just want to say, there's a lot of like one of the comments that came up over and over again when this was announced was, do you like cosplay competitions? One of the big things was it depends on the type, right? So for this particular one, there are runway, right? There are contests that happen in your little hometown, or in my little hometown. There are, contests that are of all different kinds. I think for the majority of this conversation, we're going to be talking about higher level craftsmanship competitions. And kind of, that versus like the masquerades and the runway, just because that tends to be kind of what, when, I'm competing, I'm selfish, right? So when I compete, that's what I compete in. So that's what we're talking about. But when we're talking about higher level stuff too, I think that, that's kind of also where the spotlight is on for some of the controversy and negativity. So it kind of works. And I guess, for me, that was just like a quick little like synopsis to like kind of how we're going to frame it. But I do want to say, there are some things that are specific for the craftsmanship contest. And if anybody wants to kind of jump in really quick so I don't have to talk and talk about the difference between what really makes a craftsmanship competition different from the other kinds, right? There's certain characteristics. What would those be? Go ahead. Somebody. How about Beverly? Go for it.
Oh, let's talk about craftsmanship, which is my fave. Craftsmanship is really focused on what, like the degree of craftsmanship that you have put into your piece, your prop, the degree of finishing, the different kinds of materials that you've used, and the based on where you have entered, what your knowledge is, like what you have applied to those processes and those techniques. The decisions that you've made, like why did you choose that material, all of that stuff kind of tells the whole story. The
Right.
craftsmanship is really like, for me, it's just a joy to see people leveling up their own skills and trying new things and taking a risk on really refining a technique or a material or trying something new. I don't know. Am I answering this correctly?
Yeah. No.
I feel like I'm just
Yeah.
describing what it what it is. You know,
Yeah.
it's really a measure. We're really looking like when we're judging for craftsmanship, as far as I'm like in my mind, I'm looking for, if you're a beginner, I want to see that you have attempted some like your overall silhouette is great, and you've attempted to put the same degree of effort into some of the bigger things like the fit or the materials that you've used, and you are beginning to use some of the processes and building techniques that advanced advanced makers are really good at. So you're just starting out with that. You're dipping your toe in things. Maybe you're really good at a couple of things, but you're folding more things in that you maybe haven't mastered yet. But that's fine. That's exactly where you are. So those levels of where are you at in your skill sets for the things that you have chosen to use for that costume or that prop, that is kind of where my mind goes for craftsmanship competition pieces.
Usually there's like 3 qualities, right? Like I would say, what I would define a craftsmanship competition versus other ones, and that is, a juried entry, meaning not everybody gets in when you pre-register. You have to pre-register. A build book or documentation is required, and there's prejudging, right? So I mean, like for me, those are probably the 3 things. And then, we're going to talk about, as we go through this, we're going to talk about the judging and stuff like that. So there's like going to be a lot of time to get into. I want to go more into that, but I'm just going to kind of like just quickly setting the stage of like, we're talking about craftsmanship, not runway. So if you sign up the day of at the con, it's probably not a craftsmanship contest. If you don't get prejudged, it's probably not a craftsmanship contest. If they pull in an actor from the back of the room to judge you, and Ted, who's running the food truck, it's probably not a craftsmanship contest. So yes, a lot of people have really bad experiences with those, but there is some distinction, I think, as far as what kind of contests there are. And I guess this is a good segue too. When you guys are all high level competitors at one point in your life or another, what kinds of criteria do you look for when you pick a contest? What rules are you looking for? What are the things that you look for when you say, okay, this is a contest I want to be a part of?
Just kind of one, I was going to say, I like to see who the judges are. Like, all the rules can look exactly the way you want them to look, but if it doesn't tell you who the judges are, and then it ends up being 2 actors and a showrunner, like you're just going to be like, guess it doesn't matter.
Right.
And that was like the biggest thing for me, because like because I started competing in India and cosplay culture has not developed as much over there. So the first, I was like 6 or 7 years, we were basically judged by con organizers or like their friends, like literally not even like industry people or actor, like just a con organizer and one of their friend. In one competition, I was there with like the con organizer and like they're like 10 and 15-year-old kids, and they were like, oh, this looks cool, and they basically just gave the prize based on what the kids liked. So when I competed in an international competition for the first time, I was like, is this how it's supposed to be? So having good judges.
You haven't lived till you lost to a kid in a like a pajama outfit costume.
That happens.
That does.
Right from that to basically like Han like asking me to take off my armor pieces so that she can look inside, and I'm like, what? And so it was a huge difference. But even if I lost, that was a C2E2. Even if I lost, everything felt justified because they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
What about like structuring of the contest? Does that play a role in what what kind of ones you want to enter, as far as whether, for the most part for craftsmanship, it's either master, novice, journeyman as kind of a breakout, which is your experience level, or it's broken out by the materials you're using or the medias you're using? Do you guys have a preference in which one kind of go after?
one thing I will say is that I really think that there are a variety of types of shows out there, right? And I think they all exist for a variety of reasons. So, while I would prefer a more organized contest with a billion rules, your girl loves a rule. It's okay to have like shows that are a little less, rule driven or whatever. I think it just, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, that's the important thing. Like, you never want to enter with your biggest, bestest, shiniest, most expensive costume into a show where you're going to be judged by someone who may not be as informed, and the prize is, stale Halloween candy and expired coupons.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry.
Know that in advance. I think that's okay. Because I think to your point, Samir, right? Like, if you're entering a contest and you're like, oh, like this is labeled as the biggest, greatest, most amazing thing, and there's no prejudging or anything, it's just like, oh, the audience clapped a lot for you. Like, that's a wild situation.
Oh, I hate that.
But
that. If that's in the rules. If that's in the rules where like winner is decided by an audience applause, I'm like, absolutely not.
What you're getting yourself into, like, as long as they're clear and transparent about the expectations before you get in there, I'm cool with all types of contests. It's just not like necessarily for me. But I like really like organized. I like a million rules. I like full clarity on what I'm getting into. And it doesn't necessarily matter to me if there's the delineation between material type. I think there's some controversy in the community about like, the sewing people versus the foam people, whatever. But I think, as long as it's a fair panel of judges, theoretically, should be fine.
I mean,
don't worry, that's on my list.
I also would like to say that I think that now I like to compete at contests that I know all of the people that I like to compete with are going to compete at. So like if I know Brittany's going to compete at a show, I'm probably going to go compete there, or like, you know what I mean? Because like,
but I feel like we also know that it's already a good competition if our friends are competing.
That's why like
we already like it.
Oh yeah, we already kind of know like, oh okay, this is what we're getting ourselves into because our friends have already done it, or are like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, before I had any friends, before I had friends, I would look at the past winners, right? Like, is the past winner, is it something that makes sense, right? Is it something, that is similar to my skill level? Obviously you look at C2E2 when you're a novice and you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that, right? I should probably get some chops. But like looking at who the past winners are, I think also kind of like gives you an idea of what the judges, at least the past years, have been looking for and what the contest's vibe kind of is. If it is, a Marge Simpson with a balloon head, with a balloon headdress, which is probably lovely, but if it beat out a full, like Samir level build, you're probably like, okay, this one might not. This one might have something else going on. They might be looking for something I just don't really probably have, right?
Yeah, I do think like being devil's advocate, I think there's space for everything. Like, it's completely fine to have a completely random set of rules and like do your own thing. Like how Amiru and like Jessica do their competition. It's completely like public vote, but be upfront about it. As long as a convention is telling what they're gonna do, so that like no one feels like they have been tricked, like making something serious and then entering a competition where like the criteria is not something that might be suitable for them. I like there's place for everything.
I'll add to like Casey's point too about knowing people that have competed there. Like at this point in my life, I ask a lot of questions about where I'm going to go. Am I going to be the victim of a hate crime with this contest in this area that I'm going to? Is it going to be fair? Like, how am I actually being assessed? And part of that just comes from asking other competitors that have been in that area. I'll also just ask other cosplayers that have been in that area. Like, did you feel safe here? This is a good place to be. All those types of questions I think are really important before deciding to dump tons of money, energy, and time into a costume. And then you take it there and then you have a really negative experience because maybe the environment just wasn't fit for you. So, something else I kind of look into. I look at the whole picture, not just the contest itself, but like the area we're going to also.
It's funny because I also do that when I get judging gigs. I'm like,
yeah.
Have you
just
judged?
Gonna say the same.
Yeah. Are people gonna be like, these judges are not qualified to like select a winner and blah 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 and all that?
We're definitely going to talk about like the people they choose to be next to you and judges and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of like stories about, I'm sure you guys have. I even know some where you're like sitting next to an actor or Ted who runs the taco barn and you're trying to convince them that they shouldn't pick, whatever. But for competing in itself, is there anything that you would say, like to somebody who wants to get started about, how do you select a build, or what criteria, it comes down to, can any costume win? Right? I mean, that's the saying, right? Can any costume win on any day, or are there builds that are like just better?
It's all
I would
about
say
what
in
type.
US, I would say in US any competition any cosplay can win, because you guys over here most of the time you have the ability to modify the designs. Like how, if you see like the difference in like the rules and stuff in Europe and US and even Australia, as for that matter, because in Australia and US they let you like modify the design, add details, add features here and there, and so that you can make like even a simple costume like elevated. Like a good example would be Hermione, like last year, who came second with her Snow White costume. I think her first costume that she did in Spain was much different from like what she brought over here and how much she added to the costume. In Europe, they're really stickler for like the accuracy. Like they want the costume to be really accurate to how it is. And I think that does limit, unfortunately, sometimes, like if you just pick a character which doesn't have as many feature in a high caliber cosplay competition, if the costume doesn't have that many feature, I think it limits you sometimes. But I really think that in US, like if you are someone who's creative enough, who knows like a plethora of different techniques or whatever, you can add so much in any design, and like any costume can win. There's literally have been occasions where I would not have guessed that like someone like this would win with like a costume like that, and they just like won just because how clean it was, and like how many cool things they did that I did not expect to see at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, but what other criteria do you look for when you're picking a costume? Plexi?
Sorry, I mute myself in case my kid comes in.
That's fair.
Whenever I'm picking a costume, I'm looking for something that has a really nice silhouette. I know that sounds silly, but to get picked to go on stage, it's not picked by judges. It's picked by a bunch of random people that run a con that want to know what's the most impressive. So I look for things that have a really nice silhouette that's going to look good on stage, and something that plays to my what I'm good at. So if I'm really good at armor, if I'm really good at adding some sort of engineering thing, I pick a costume based on that. Something that can be multimedia as well. So I'm not pigeonholing myself in armor or in needlework, because I find that the people that tend to take big awards are ones that have succeeded across the categories. So yeah, like that one got a big silhouette. So that was like my very first big entry ever. And that's where I won the armor category at New York. And I picked something that I thought was beautiful. I really liked armor, and I had only made 1 or 2 costumes before then. And so I just kind of went deep into that. And I knew I could maybe make wings if I tried hard. So yeah, those are what I'm looking for when I'm looking at costumes. What's going to do well on stage, what's going to go across all the categories, and what plays to the things that I'm already good at.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right. So let's talk about emotional tolls and competing, and what you need in order to do that. So if somebody is wanting to start off into cosplay, what are some tips, tricks, or lessons that you've learned from competing about, whether it's the physical toll of getting through a build in a short period of time, or maybe some of the bad negative stuff that comes with after it and the baggage? What can you share to somebody about kind of what to expect, unfortunately, when you really get to that higher level? Anybody?
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're gonna be disappointed because right before. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. By the way.
Yeah.
Okay, but sometimes you're just going to be disappointed because you might be at the very top of, we'll just say, intermediate or journeyman, and you're just like killing it every single time, and then you go up to like expert or whatever, masters, and sometimes it can be a rude awakening sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you will be disappointed when you expect, more. You expect to be the winner. You expect to get the best prize or whatever, because you're kind of moving up. But
Yeah, I don't
You're
know
in a
where
whole
this.
new league when you're up at that highest level.
I think there's this pendulum that is swung that since there's so many people with bad sportsmanship that they think that people who compete don't want to win all of a sudden. Like, I don't know like where they got like where the sentiment of like not wanting to win or not wanting to win is bad. Like I've never entered to lose, right? Like I
No.
mean I don't, you can enter and be a good sportsman and take the hit. That doesn't mean you aren't crying in
Yeah.
the closet. You just
But
compose
having
yourself.
expectations that are too high is just going to make you unhappy versus just doing it, trying to beat yourself, like was mentioned before, and like just trying to do better every time until eventually you can get yourself to that point.
Yes. And I think people get moved up to masters. They move up to masters way too fast. They like win novice one year.
I think so too.
They hit journeyman the next year, and then all of a sudden they're masters. And I think we're pushing.
That's to be expected because like the ease of access of everything right now. Like if actually someone wanted and like give it enough time, they could win with their first build now. I don't think so that was possible like 15 years ago. Like maybe the people who are from the industry, if they were competing. But if like someone new is starting up right now, because there's so many tools available which make your life so much easier, and like there's so much resources online. Thanks to amazing people over here also, like who have amazing books. Like you can literally, I've seen like first time competitors with like freaking amazing cosplay builds. So I think they basically jump in, and I think the biggest thing that happens is like because people put in effort, like people put in a lot of effort in their costume, everyone. So like anyone who has reached a cosplay competition has put in time and effort, and they feel like they should be rewarded for it. And it's that what do you call it? They feel like they are owed it, but they forget that everyone else has also done that much amount of work. So people need to understand that you are not the only one who has put in time and effort, and you do not deserve a prize just because you have put in an effort, because everyone else has also. So I think that is a big because that happens with me every time. Like someone comes like, oh, I learned this, I learned like 20 different techniques to do on this. I'm like, it's fine that you did that much, but if someone has already perfected those techniques and they are making a costume and their costume is better than you, then I'm not gonna give you a prize because of your personal journey,
or it's how many hours they did. I made everything,
exactly.
and it took me 1,000 hours, and you're like,
oh, or when someone's like, oh, this took me 2 years, and I'm just like,
cool, bro.
I mean,
sorry.
I think that it is something that they should kind of write on your master's award, and it's something I always say to people who win journeyman. I'm like, welcome to masters. You are going to be here forever, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a master for 1 year.
Down.
There are people who have been masters for 20, and you're up against them now. Right, like you're up against Casey. Like, congratulations,
I mean, look that for a reason. Like it's not an exciting. I mean, it's exciting in the moment, but once you get there, you're like, oh dear God, what have I done?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
develop
I don't know
if I have to talk about like pitfalls, other than of course like you also obviously need to have like a good sportsmanship. But other than that, like if I'm talking about pitfalls, I think it's really important to have a build that you believe in, or like something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
Because what I see a lot of times is that people, because of a hype train or something, they would like pick up a build and they would be like, okay, like if you're serious about competing, if you're just doing it for fun, it's completely fine. But if you really want to win, and I think you should give it a good thought. Like a lot of what do you call it, like pre-production, basically, where you sit down and like think about all the aspects of the costume, how to do it, and do you think at the end of the day, in like maybe you finish it like this year, in like 2 years, and do you think in like 1.5 years time this build would still be good? And do you think that you would really win in this costume? And are you really passionate about this build? Because if you're not passionate about a project, it just starts feeling like a chore after a while, and then you just don't enjoy it. Because I think it goes for like even if someone is starting like into cosplay, because when the going gets tough, it's your passion for that for that project that drives you to like solve problems and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to pick something that you really believe in for like a big cosplay competition, because you're going to be staring at it for the next 2 years or like whatever, like for thousands of hours. Yeah.
I think also having a good support system, like we have like our friends, you know, like obviously like if I were to decide I'm going to compete tomorrow, I could be like, hey, everyone in this chat, like I'm going to compete. Can you give me feedback like every step of the way? And I think that feedback loop is important because like where online you will post something and you'll get a lot of people who don't know anything about you or your build telling you things. Me asking like Amanda a question about my build, I will get a more honest answer because she's not afraid to hurt my feelings, but I will also, but she also, I know, right? But she'll also give me something to actually like think about because she understands my skill set. She knows where I'm trying to go with it and all that. So I think a support system is actually one of the best things that you can do for yourself as a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Can we also go back to the sportsmanship element as well? Because I really feel like
I mean, I'm just gonna like rip up all of my like my outline here, and we're just gonna go for it because I want to talk about sportsmanship because that I think is the one thing that most people think we're gonna talk about anyway. So we might as well. And I want to talk about it, you know, from where we're gonna go, and also like as a competitor, what it feels like to get the backlash, what it feels like to see these kinds of things, as a judge, what it feels to see these things. And if you want to just set it up as far as like what's been going on in the community lately, I mean, go for it.
Sure. Well, I promise it relates because Casey said a really good thing about having a support system. And I think one thing that your support system can really do is help you process your raw emotions so that you're not someone else's problem after the convention, right? Like, it's very normal to want to compete for money, for prize, for clout, whatever your reason is. Like that's totally your own, and there really isn't a wrong reason to compete. I'm going to say that there's a caveat there, but anyway, you can compete for whatever reason you want to. But once you become someone else's problem, that's when we have the issues, I think. And having someone who can be your sounding board, go off in the chats. You know, if you're mad somebody won a contest, and it is so frustrating to me. Like you're going to take away somebody else's shine by being a jerk face because you lost or saying whatever. And like, you know, people are going to people, but I think, I don't know. I feel like Green Room is such a sacred space, and like it's just a space where everyone is so stressed out and has a lot of anguish, and you can feel your feelings. But to take that out on another competitor because you don't have a safe way to process your feelings, or to take that out on a judge at the end of a show, what is your deal? You know what I mean? So I think that's all with that for preparation for competing is get your raw feelings out before you get there to your support system. After it's done, send your raw feelings to your support system only, and then you know keep on keeping on. But once you become someone else's problem, I think that's like the bigger issue. That I know I have a lot of feelings about it.
I know it's really not that hard to be happy for people, right? If you're on stage next to somebody who just beat you, and I don't know, like if maybe you're in a Mercy, and maybe you're on stage at C2E2, and maybe I don't know some glorious Nikki Ballgown, you know, stomps you and. You know, it is not hard to be happy for your friends. It's really not. Like it shouldn't be. If it is hard for you, maybe competitions aren't for you, but if it isn't hard to be happy for other people, that's not to say on my way back to the hotel I didn't cry, like, or wasn't disappointed, or I wasn't upset. I understood. I didn't question the judge's decisions, Beverly and Plexi. I'm not pointing anybody out. But it's okay. I feel like, you know, there's like a misconception between the two where they think you have to never feel these feelings in order to have good sportsmanship. And that's not what we're saying. Right.
Agree.
Yeah, if you are a competitive person, you get like sore after like losing, you know, no matter what. Like that's what makes you a good competitor, because like you want to come back stronger, you know, you want to come back with better determination. And like exactly what pros and cons said, like I have bitched about like judges and like competitions, like my co-participants winning, like where I thought I won also. But you do it to your friends, you know. The thing is, like, it's a golden rule. Just don't act crazy on the internet. That's it. Like, you know, like never go on internet and do a rant for no fucking reason at all.
It's really not that hard.
Yeah, for no reason at all. Just don't rant on the internet, you know, like keep your thoughts to yourself. Like that's the golden rule. And as long as you do it with your friends, who cares? You know, like they are your friends.
Yeah.
Bitch about whoever you want.
And Khan has this great like phrase that I steal from them all the time is like, don't talk about the contest until you've had a carbohydrate and a nap And then, then you can talk about it, even if you've won, because I feel like a lot of times we've all met a sore winner, right? And where they are not the greatest versions of themselves after they've won, and they are not great, right? Sleep it off before you try and ask for feedback from a judge. Get a snack, plan a dinner that you're excited for, so you have something to look forward to deal with the pain of losing. We've all lost. It sucks.
That's what I'm doing in green room, is planning my dinner reservations.
Yes, exactly. Where am I going to get my car? So I think, it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to have big feelings because, like, as you said, Samir, like, no one's, again, competing for Halloween candy at this level anymore, right? It's just, you got to figure out a good way to process it, not on the internet right after.
And I also want to point out too, like, it's the mental health piece and the piece to your other competitors, but this will have trickle down implications, right? If you're ranting online, and I'll also add ranting at the show, to where maybe the showrunner hears you, other judges, other contestants. The cosplay community is huge, but it's also very small, and everyone talks. So mind your kind of reactions and your feelings and your emotions after the fact, because you never know what opportunity you might lose out on because you're being a sore winner or a sore loser or nasty to other contestants. It happens. We've seen it happen. So,
it happens instantly. 100%. Like, let's just be honest.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It happens instantly.
We all know immediately.
And a lot of the showrunners, they're the ones that will also be the people that will make decisions on whether or not you're invited as a guest to a show or to be a judge.
Right.
And so to prove to them that you're like something that I wanted to say, slightly off track, but something I wanted to say about the things that I have lost, the costumes that I have lost to other other people have placed in front of me, or I've just like straight out lost. At the time, I was like, how did I lose? Like, I thought that I did such a great job on this. And then you're right, carbohydrate later. I'm like, oh yeah, actually, like if I am standing like right next to the person that won, like I can totally see why that happened. And also like years later, like if you look at your old builds, if you still have them in your closet, the maker that you are today, when you're looking at that costume, could you still say the same thing? And realize that the person that you are today in that competition on that stage today, you're going to be such a better maker if you use that experience to help propel you forward. And you're not going to get any help from the community if you're being a person that is not nice online after you lose sorely during a competition. And there's always going to be people that love your build. And they want to be inspired by what you have done. They think that your build is like the most amazing thing. So I don't know. I think it's also important to remember that, you're going to have tunnel vision, of course, but if you look beyond that just a little bit, you can hopefully see that you have improved something through your own skills. Somebody loves your build and they want to know more about it. So don't taint that with being a bad sportsman, with bad sportsmanship.
Even if you're not a bad sportsman, when you are thinking, wow, why did I lose? I can tell you right now, trust Aunt Avera, in 4 years, when you know how to make more things, you're going to go, of course they won. They're like, oh my God, they tattled their own lace. Yeah. They used an ancient Eskimo snow dyeing technique. They're like, I literally just had, one technique. Like you don't know. And that goes too. Like the quicker you move up and the more of these contests you do, you just don't know what went into that. You might not be as experienced.
Yeah, right. And a lot of the shows that I've been judging lately have been, oh, sorry. Let me just add this real quick. Yeah. A lot of the competitions that I've been judging lately have been offering a feedback panel the next day. And if you have time to do it, research this, because I don't think that a lot of shows advertise that is available to you. But instead of getting us on stage right after the winners are announced, which has happened the night of the competition, don't do that. Don't get into our DMs, please. And see if there is time the next day that has been organized by the show to approach the judges so that they have their notes and they can talk collaboratively on these things, because a lot of times I don't have the same experiences as Kate. Like I don't have the same technical experience with sewing as Casey does, or Jedi Amanda. So sometimes the decisions or the discussions that have been made, you need to have those discussions with more judges just than one, more than just one. So those feedback panels are very, very, very helpful if you truly are interested in why the decision was made that like,
Mhm.
what was it about your costume that we could help you with, or like show you, like, we'd like to see this. We were
Also, it's just
we
like a
were
really positive
questioning. Yeah,
experience.
Yeah.
it totally is, and it's a great, it's stressful for me as a judge to be like, okay, prove it. Why did you make that decision? And I'm sitting in front of you and I'm disappointed from the night before, but really does give us a chance to have like a civil discourse, not discourse, a discussion about
Yeah.
your work. And
Mhm.
like 10 times out of 10, we love the thing that you did, and let us talk to you about it. We love
Right.
we love aspects of it. We're going to talk to you about what we loved, and we're going to suggest things that we think that you could perhaps include or improve upon.
Do we
Anyway,
have anything else on
soapbox, yeah.
do we have anything else on sportsmanship? Because I do want to get into, I mean, we can come back to sportsmanship because we could talk about specific examples. And
What I wanted to say before was like that, like what Con said is like a really important thing, because you actually sometimes, even if you feel like you have been done wrong, and maybe you are right, maybe like the convention did fuck up in the judging, and then you won, and like someone else won and you should have won, maybe. But then even then you have to understand a lot of conventions are learning, they're trying to improve, like it's not being done like maliciously, it's not being done on purpose sometimes, and if you just go on, if you go online and then rant about it and everything, and you're just burning a bridge, because it has happened with me in the past. Like I was judging a cosplay competition and I liked some person's costume, and like the organizer, because there's always like organizers, like they're always there when we are judging and like making decisions and stuff. And they were trying to influence our decision against like one person, because they were like, oh, this person, every time they come in a competition, they create a scene, and like, they do this and they do that. And like they were like actively trying to influence our decision to not make that person win. And basically, you do not want to, like, if you want to compete more in the future, remember, everything that goes online is there forever. Whatever you have said. And like what Beverly also said, that that you just winning the competition is not everything. A lot of times, like a lot of opportunities I've gotten is just going to a competition and not winning. Like my Xenos costume actually got me a lot of opportunities. I went to C2E2 and I didn't win anything, but people saw like the work that I did in that, and like that led to so many things. So don't look at a competition as just as like winning, because to be honest, like, and I really feel sad saying it, but a lot of competitions, I don't think so, give you enough money to even compensate for like, what you have done.
Pennies in the bucket.
It's abysmal. Like I
Yeah.
see like really high competitions where like people from everywhere is coming, and like the prize money is not even enough to cover like just the raw materials and stuff, that time.
Yeah.
So I think you go to a competition to make a name for yourself, to like to know people, or like to just have fun and like see how good you are. So like try not to just like focus, laser focus on just winning. Like see the other benefits that you can still derive from a competition, even if you have not won. And don't burn bridges. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know from all of you, our judges, I think more known now, maybe even for judging than just competing. What really goes on in the high level judging rooms? What really happens? You personally, like, what do you do? What kind of mentality do you bring into the room? But also, like, what are you really looking at, right? Because I think there is some, misconceptions that people are just like, well, I'm friends with Becky, right? And so we're going to vote for her, or, well, I really like boobs and ball gowns, so obviously this giant contraption can't win. I mean, like, what is really going on in the judging room? Let's see.
Surprisingly small amount of bias.
Yeah,
is what I have
actually,
to say.
like, yeah,
surprisingly small.
Yeah.
I think everything happens. Like everything happens. Like you have judges who are biased, also you have judges who are unbiased, but that's why you have a big panel. Like the biggest thing is like like it's a balancing act a lot of times, because like I have judged in like all kinds of different competitions, like really, really big conventions. I think big conventions are much easier, like when you have like really, really talented judges. that's when completely fine. But I have just like some smaller competitions where they were like the local judges who have like competed in the local scene a lot, but not a lot outside. And I think in those, like, there were biases over there. But the thing is, that's why you have a panel, and like you have to like find a way to, you know, convince the other judges and make sure that everyone understands what your point of view is, because you do come from like different backgrounds and like different knowledge and stuff. So I think like
But the high level though,
Yeah.
At the high level,
we all know each other. So like you have to literally turn that off. You have to be like, it doesn't matter that Brittany just walked in this room and she got me the coolest thing for my birthday yesterday. I have to judge her just like I judge the next person that walks in. Like, I don't think people understand that, like, we really don't actually think about it as like our friend versus like the people that aren't our friends. It's like, no, what is this costume? What did they do? What did they build? How well does it fit? You know, how clean is it? Things like that. Like, we care so much more about the actual craftsmanship of the costume than the person that made the costume.
Yeah, we're all professionals behind that desk as well.
Yeah.
And we know how to do this. It's why we're hired. And we talk, we chat, and all of us know what we're doing. So we're not going to go out of the way to be like, my bestie is going to win this because she's my bestie. Like, that's just a part of our gig. And if that was the case, we wouldn't be sitting in this little room.
Right.
right? It's your reputation on the line.
We wouldn't keep
Absolutely.
getting hired, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But I can say
we're all
too,
brands.
Yeah.
It's all branding, marketing, business. Even if it's not making a bunch of money, we still have a reputation attached to our names. And
Yeah.
we want to hold that with the utmost professionalism.
And one thing I can say is, you know, we've had the absolute pleasure of having Samir, Jedi Amanda, Casey, and Beverly judge some of our shows, and it's absolutely that, right? I think folks freak out at the fact that, oh my God, they know so many people. Are they gonna like have bias? It's not the case. Or the one I love that comes up in that cosplay group all the time is like, I'm gonna lose. What am I gonna lose points for? It's not really that kind of conversation. It's a, you know, what are you doing to help, you know, elevate your costume? What are you doing to help get yourself, you know, a sort of an additive process as opposed to a subtractive one. And folks aren't in there like screaming and yelling at each other. That has happened, but it's not with professional folks who are judging these high level contests, right? Like it's these kinds of conversations. We're talking about the build. It's never about the person. So anyway, I can just say that having witnessed the four of you specifically, I'm sure the rest of you all are that way too, but specifically having witnessed the four of you judging, it's not like that at all. It's a very professional environment. It's very like task oriented. There's not a lot of weirdness that I think people are expecting in the judging room. That definitely happens, but not at the higher level contests.
Yeah.
We want to get it right. There's
Yeah.
a pressure to get it right.
Yeah.
we all
Like-
care too much.
We're stressed.
Yeah.
And we are not
I
trying
get
to-
so stressed. I get so stressed out. Like, honestly, if I would love, I wish that the competitors could understand how much we all care about doing it right.
Mhm.
Like in how much we respect their decisions to be at that competition. Like we agonize. I just did a Rose City with Chad and Sammy Hoku from Hoku Props. And I love judging with them because I learned from them that everyone that walks in that room needs to feel like they have been seen and heard and had the chance to present to us. And it's our job to help them with that, right? Like, especially with the beginners and some of the journeymans. Masters are they're good at that already. They're able to talk about their costumes, but we really want everyone to walk out of there feeling like they said what they needed to say, and that they were able to convey the important things about that build that we would want to know about. Sometimes we really have to help them along. And if we didn't care as judges about any of that, then we would just be sitting. First of all, I never sit in a chair during
Never
judging. I
sit.
always
What
get
are
up.
chairs?
I think that a good judge, and this is just my bias, a good judge is going to walk around that costume. They're going to work with the other judges either by like pointing things out to them, or helping them ask questions, or making sure that everybody has a chance to ask a question that they are interested in knowing about, or that because of their specialty they need to ask. And so I think that is where like a practice judge will be able to make it a successful judging experience for the competitor, which we all really like. I care about that so much. I take it so seriously. I even study techniques that I know that personal note, I have been struggling with 3D printing and modeling for a while, but because it's such a big thing now, like in the competitor like judging room, I know that if I need to keep doing this, I need to learn and I need to do it. So I'm very aware of that because I take it so seriously. So yeah, very serious. We're all very serious here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
yeah,
want
Well,
to
we are.
people forget that we're not there to shit on the costumes. We are here to yeah. That's not why we are like. First of all, we don't have enough time. Like if you like, we have limited time between
So
each
true.
contestant, and what we're trying to do is like appreciate the things. And then we do become assholes. We become assholes when we're like when we're picking between the top two or like top three people, four people. When like everyone is like equal, that's when we slip into an asshole and be like, oh, this thing was not nice. This thing was not nice because we're just trying, and that is because we're just trying to give someone an advantage over the other one. Because otherwise we would not be able to choose a winner.
Yeah.
But like most of the time, it's basically we're looking at like what this person has done, and what Beverly said actually makes is like really true, because that's what I also like to do in a judges room, because I feel like I come from like I didn't get to like go to a lot of really like high caliber cosplay competitions as a competitor before, because like I wanted to compete in C2E2 again, but like India doesn't have an entry anymore, and we don't have too many entries or whatever. But yeah, like a lot of time people come and they're like so like flabbergasted by like big names, or like just intimidated by the competition, and we try to point out any cool thing that they might have forgotten. Like the first thing I do, I just walk around the competitor, and in my mind I already know what the rest of the things are happening, because sometimes we also have the build books and stuff. We already know what is happening in the costume. We are just looking to hear about the things that we don't understand. I think that's what people need to understand.
Yes.
We're going on a different tangent, like on how to behave inside like the judging room. But I like to tell people, don't talk about the obvious stuff. Like, don't be like, oh, this is foam, this is foam, this is foam. I can see it's foam. Okay? Talk about the stuff that you have done differently, because most of the time we already know 80% of the costume what is going on. So like what I like to do is, like, if someone is like just ranting on about like the obvious things that we already know, I would like stop them and like ask them things about like the particular features of their costume that they like that they have worked on, or something that they might have missed. So we are trying to like extract as much information from you. That's our focus when we are judging, not like just like pointing out the flaws. We want to listen to features. And
I'm gonna ask Bever. I'm gonna ask Plexi a question, because she's getting away with keeping her microphone on mute. When you have, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is when you do get into the higher levels, especially something like the Crown Championships, there are a lot of costumes, or even like MegaCon, even some of the larger contests around the country. You have sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 costumes that are absolutely flawless, perfect. Any other given competition could be a best in show. When you're dealing with that, what things are you looking for? How do you decide a winner inside the judges' room?
I'd like to start off with 2 points. One, your mannequin doesn't have pants, and I keep looking at it, and it's a lot.
We all noticed.
It's just naked. That's all. It's just naked. It's fine. We're all fine. We're having a good time. There was the disclaimer in the beginning that I think absolved you of it.
Oh my God. She made it even more naked.
You're great. And you're on mute now. So
I don't think adding tassels would help that in that particular spot. Actually.
But just okay. And secondly, I like listening. I find I'm not a unique voice in this, and I know that sounds weird. In this realm, I find myself always having imposter syndrome, and while I like to think of myself as more of an equal now, this is a space where I'm learning a lot from everybody else too. So I'm okay to listen. I don't feel weird to be left out, but I will answer. We do have a lot of costumes that come in that I wouldn't say are perfect, but are near perfect. Everybody's can be nearly flawless. And when it comes to that, you're always looking at just that one little thing where somebody slipped up. It truly comes down to the smallest things, like just a seam or a hem that wasn't done just right. You could tell that was the extra thing that they didn't. It was like the last part. It always comes down to something so tiny that you wouldn't really see it in the audience, and that's, I think, where you get the audience finding that they think they can judge better than somebody who's in the judging room.
Yeah.
But
What a great segue there.
And as somebody who has just judged New York, which always tends to be a hot topic one, not that honestly everything that I've judged always ends up having some sort of, flaming thing on social media, and I just can't be bothered. But if we're going to segue into that, the person who did win New York this time is the pronouns are he, him. And I know that was one of the arguments that women tend to win all of these competitions. So
Yes.
go ahead and put that one out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just the small things. It really is. Nobody's thing is absolutely perfect, although some of them are pretty freaking close. So like Nerds Gone Mild, like
to say.
Nice shirt, Samir. We see you pandering.
Yeah, it's just I honestly it's a legitimate pander. It's a good one. So
it is.
but anyway.
But I mean, even that one, right? Like there were some things I saw online about Nerds build, right? There are things that don't necessarily look.
I will fight.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
know you
say
would.
I gave it a perfect score.
I know.
Yeah.
I think actually unanimously we did.
But I mean, think of all of the. I mean, you're talking about people who may have limited experience in crafting, no experience in crafting as the audience, right? They're there to watch a show, and they're looking at it like entertainment. And unlike skating or Forged in Fire, where there is kind of a talking about what the criteria is, or there's like a set, rubric or a set scoring system.
Maybe they should do something like that. I don't know.
There has to be something to educate, right? Or something, because it is a big draw. It's a big draw for the contest or for the con. The contest is one of the biggest things that people want to watch, that people come to participate in, and it is constantly getting worse where, and I always say this, as judges, we know what's going to get the audience's vote. Like if there was an audience vote, if it's a transition dress, something gigantic with big bright wings, I mean, we know pretty much lights. A canon character, if it's a really well-loved popular canon character, we know what's going to get what is going to get the audience going. And also we know if we don't pick, if we're not going to be picking that, we know that there's probably going to be some why, whatever. Let's just talk about that, right? I don't even know where to, I guess there's really no question, is like, what can we do as a community to what can we even do? Is there even anything?
I would like to say people? I would like to say one thing about that, though. I think like a lot of time, the chatter is like, it's like a really, really small portion of the people. First of all, no one who has ever competed, no one who has ever even cosplayed half seriously, goes on and like starts crying about things. They do, of course, they do. But like most of the time, the people who are ranting are like the sore losers' friends, or just random people on the internet. And most of the time, the chatter just dies like in like a week or so. No matter, and this hasn't happened like right now. This has happened in anything ever. Like in a singing competition, if a singer winner, like the other people are gonna, it's nature of competition. I don't think so. This is a problem that can be solved, to be honest, because humans are dicks, straight up, and it's just like it's unfortunate, but I do think that if you're trying to compete, you need to develop a thicker skin. It's unfortunate,
maybe it's not that. Maybe we just need to stop taking it so seriously. Cheers.
I have to hard agree with you, though. Like, I think what frustrates me about the competition scene is that everyone's treating cheating and or like bad feelings and negative online content as a brand new concept. This has been around since the beginning of cosplay contests, since the beginning of anything competition-wise. It happens at the Olympics. Like, people are going to be salty regardless, right? And there's nothing you can really do.
There's a time to be salty, and there's a time to just be a good loser.
And and truly, there is no time to be salty. Just talk to your friends and then shut up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's my mentality
behind
it.
Saying.
But
the time to be salty is with your friends, not at the convention.
what you need to do is if you have friends that are doing that kind of behavior, you need to check them. That's the other part of being a good friend, right? Like, hey, maybe get offline. Maybe let's go get a taco. Let's go get a burrito. Like, let's go celebrate and get you out of these feelings so that way you can stop making your problem everybody else's problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, right, it gets into a lot of, like, especially new cosplayers' head about how the competition scene, because they're like, oh my God, what if somebody says something bad about me? I guess I'm old and, like, don't care, but, like, I think it's just the expectation, especially at the really big international comps. Somebody somewhere is going to have something to say.
Yes.
And you just have to deal with it. Like, it doesn't feel great. Nobody likes that. But, like, I think that's just like, well, whatever. People have their opinion. I'm just going to move on with my life. But I think it's really scaring a lot of newer cosplayers in the competition scene because they think that this is, like, this brand new thing that's happening as a result of social media. Like, people have been shit talking since the beginning of time. Like, it's just going to happen. And so I think the way of handling it is, one, as a showrunner, I'll put my showrunner hat for a second. If you see it and it's another contestant, cut that off right at the head. Cut off the hydra. You know, you're not going to be able to compete because of bad sportsmanship. You know, if you see those people that want to be judges at your show and you've seen them behave really poorly online or in person, guess what? You can't come. So you have to, like, stop the behavior by, I don't want to say punishment, but, like, you have to, like, sort of be a bulwark.
Boundaries, tolerance, zero tolerance.
And really, make a zero tolerance policy with that kind of thing. Check your friends. And I'm a very strong I feel very strongly about that. Like, we can't, there's only so many talks and conversations we're going to have about it, because to be honest with you, the people that are the saltiest are probably listening to this and thinking it's not them. Or the people that do need to be hearing it aren't here, right? So
are not here.
You just got to check your friends when you see it happening.
But I think there is something to, like, let's talk about, like, singing competitions, right? There's something to say, oh, I think that they had a better voice or whatever. But, like, there is something to, I think what we do is so niche. Well, it's so niche that, like, I haven't watched a competition in a very long time and been surprised. I might have had one and they came in third. You know, I might get like a onesie twosie, like, mixed up here. But for the most part, I think we all can watch a competition, whether it's from the audience or online, and
generally
not be really surprised, right? Like, we understand this stuff. But I think that what is frustrating is that nobody understands, like, you know, if you are just coming up or you don't have any crafting experience, some of this is so foreign to you. Like, you don't understand what tattled laced is, or you don't understand what, you know, I don't know, whatever you sewing people do. Probably, yeah, that's it. What, or what's the thing with the embroidery on the tambourine? You know, we're like, oh my gosh,
tambourine embroidery.
Yes, that's exactly what it's called. Yes,
it's a lot like Stevie Nicks, actually. But no, but I mean, like, a lot of people don't, even in the space, don't know some of this stuff. So it's just kind of like, well, I don't get it, right? And go ahead.
I just something that I really like that I've been seeing some shows doing more and more is giving the microphone to the judges when they're announcing these winners, to give them an opportunity to talk about the costume. And I think that goes a long way to convincing the audience, and to also celebrate why we chose them, what we liked about it, and also to remind them at the beginning of the show. I like it when we're able to say, you know, when the MC says, "Oh, what do you want to, you know, what are you looking for in you know, the cosplay contest winner or whatever?" It's a chance for us to say, we're looking at the tiny little details. We are looking at, you know, everyone that came today, like, they're telling a story, and they're through their costume, they're telling the journey. A lot of the things that we see are like, they're right here, but you're unable to see all of the amazing, wonderful detail from the audience. So I encourage you to go find these costumes and see them in person and talk to the people if you're interested in learning more about them. And at the end, when we announce these winners, I do like to say that, to reiterate that, even though, you know, it just seems like no matter what, there's always going to be shade. And I do say that phrase in my head after we choose our winners, like in the back room. I say to myself, and it's probably not very healthy, but I say to myself, let the shade begin, because it just feels like it's going to be inevitable. But, like, my job as a judge is not to please anybody else, except for to make a decision based, like, a collaborative decision for one event. And it just depends on who shows up to this one event. And yeah, I get really frustrated sometimes when I feel the community pushing up against, like, and not trusting the decisions that we've made. And I feel, honestly, it used to really hurt me. Like, well, I thought that like I was doing a good job, and it's really hard. It's way harder than you would think. And I know that like emotions have a lot to do with it. When you don't win, you don't place. But how did I? Oh yeah, okay. So getting back to the point.
So
no, I'm done. I'm rambling.
Am I
I'm
the
just
only
rambling.
person that's just like not bothered if somebody
I was
says
gonna
my
say-
decision was wrong?
Yeah, I'm not bothered really either by it. I'm like, all right, cool. Like people are upset. Like they didn't see what
Yeah,
I
it's like, well, they're obviously wrong. So,
yeah. Like they're not the ones.
me and
Yeah.
Casey over here, like, we're qualified.
Like
It
there's a funny thing.
used to bother me a lot more. It used to bother me a lot more, and now I'm definitely like, because I do have that little mantra in my like, it's just the shade is just going to happen. It's just going to.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is
just
this is-
I don't know how to get.
this is one problem that I like. I see from both the sides. Okay, like because what I was talking about before. To give an example, and I really hate doing this, but people really bring up mimic a lot, and about like whenever like sportsmanship is discussed now. Funny thing is, the guy, I don't remember his name. His story was up for like half an hour, and after half an hour, basically it got removed because like people jumped on him, and then like he might have understood, he might have got scared, whatever. He removed it for after half an hour, but it's the community that has been echoing it for so long. It's been like almost 2 years now, and people, I think almost like more than a year now, and people keep echoing it over and over and over again. And I think that is also a problem because sometimes like people make mistakes. Like I felt really bad for that guy also, even though like I was the judge, like people were like flacking you, but that's like it was a small portion. I never even bothered. Like I was sleeping, I was tired after judging, I went back, I slept, I woke up, and my phone was like ringing. Oh, this happened, that happened, are you okay? And blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like what Brittany said, like I know those people are wrong, and anyone who has ever competed, anyone who I respect knows that have you seen like Sarcasm Hime's costume? No one doubts that she should have won, right? So, but I think like what happened was like it like for like, and it was nice to spread the message, but like it went on and on and on and on and on to a point where I think like a person like that who has made a mistake was never given an option to recover from that, and that is also I think not a good thing. Like some people are some people are explicitly toxic, and like those people, like there are other case. There's another case in New York Comic Con itself, like who was like trying to pass off like as a commission piece as like their own costume. Now that kind of person should be completely if you can get them out of the community, all and well. If you're trying to lie and in a cosplay competition, that's wrong. But if someone has made a mistake like this, like a young kid, like who doesn't understand what is right, what is wrong, like competing for the first time, I'm not saying that what the behavior was right, but sometimes I think it goes overboard the other way also. Like, like we need to let people also realize their mistake and also like, get better. But like when you like throw down the hammer with such force, I don't think so. Like people can recover from that sometimes, which is also not. Yeah, I felt really bad last year because I was not bothered at all.
It's also not the judge's place, right? Like I was in a situation where we were judging a person who had just recently gone through an episode of bad sportsmanship. And, me and the other judges were like, we cannot bring that into here. Like, we cannot bring that into this room. Like, we have to award the best costume. Like, if it was going to be a decision. But yeah, that's a really good point. Do you think, I guess, pros and cons as showrunners, and I think there's might be a couple other people that probably have done some show running. I think online competitions have kind of gave us a really good view into like setting up a person as they're on stage. And now I know we all write our own stuff, and most of the time we write way too much and it's not really all that great. But like, is there something we can do with the presentation of the costume to kind of highlight the work, whether it's taking over and writing things for people? Because I think I'm only writing 2 sentences, but I'm on there for like 45 minutes and I'm just like staring at Yaya like, hi. Or maybe like showing some sort of like in process work and highlights or up close stuff. Is there something the showrunners can do as far as like the overall contest to really like engage the audience? Because I don't know anything about forging a sword, but I watch Forge and Fire and I'm sitting there like, yeah, you should have quenched You know, I mean, like, I feel like oh, you quench too soon, you're gonna get a elimination on that. You know, I feel like because they explain things. I feel like they
You're the
explain things
expert
so
now.
well. I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, is he trying to do Damascus in 20 minutes?
What is he thinking?
What is he thinking? But like, we could do things to kind of show
think
That
the
would be
audience better.
interesting.
I think it depends.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of shows that do a lot of really great things where they're able to show, like, here's the rules or whatever of the contests that they put on display tables. Frankly, it just depends on the capability of the tech team of the show. A lot of these shows are run by volunteers, or like there's a lot of different steps that come into show running that's not just, you know, walk them across the stage and walk them off. There's a whole production value that goes on, and that differs depending on each show. But frankly, I've seen shows that go through all of that. They put all the rules up, they have folks do the thing, and there are people still shit talking. So I think it just kind of,
Yeah.
there's a community lack of awareness for sure and how armchair judging goes, but people do it because it's fun for them, right? Like, this is an energy rush for them to be part of the negative discourse surrounding whatever popular thing. So I think
You don't want to get me on holiday cooking bake off because I am judging those
right, armchair judging is
pastries
just
hard.
It can
it's
be
just what
entertaining.
people do. It
It's
can
so
be
fun.
entertaining.
Just don't do it online.
Right, exactly. So, but I think that the drama is just one of those things that we as the community have to work towards. Like, if you see your friends doing it, the best like kind of bulwark to drama and theatrics, and this kind of goes into exuberant cosplay's question, is the community, right? The number one fear is public embarrassment, like beyond death, right, as a community. And so if you can say, like, look, don't be saying crazy stuff about people who are walking on stage and trying their hardest because we will embarrass you, that is a negative bulwark that the community can have. I think shows that are really healthy and healthy cosplay communities have a community that says, no, we don't tolerate bullying, no, we don't tolerate cheating, and that's frankly going to be your strongest like arm against cheating and bad negative sportsmanship. It's just your community's got to be supportive.
Not to put this over your face, but I wonder what this one's talking about. What happens if someone has knowledge but buys a cosplay and enters? And I think we all know what that's referencing.
Well, what happens to that person? Did they get any repercussions or anything? I don't know. Besides online.
What would happen if someone has the knowledge but buys it? I mean,
I think it depends on the contest, right? Like, you can, I won't speak about specific incidents of shows that we've run, but folks get disqualified, right? The rewards get taken back from people. I think
after the fact.
Banned. Yeah. I think the range of consequences exist. And again, showrunner hat, like, I think showrunners, we have to be diligent about it and be willing to like put rules out there and enforce them. If someone's breaking a rule, disqualify them, tell them they can't compete. You know, that will discourage the behavior as well. We can't just say we don't allow that but then allow it. You know what I mean? Now, sometimes it's hard to tell as a judge, like, if somebody is cheating. Like, sometimes folks are really, really good these days. You know, we have access to things that folks wouldn't normally have had back in the day, and it's sometimes really challenging to catch cheaters. But if you do, and you're in the fortunate position to see a Fruit of the Loom tag behind somebody's costume, and tell the showrunner, have them disqualified, keep it pushing, you know? So
for real though, if we could do a podcast day where we just talk about cheaters.
I mean, let's just.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, what is your?
Good ones.
We all have them, right? So,
We're
what is your
give them fuel
favorite?
for the fire, though? We tell them how we've caught people cheating. They're just gonna get more creative about how to cheat. I'm just kidding.
This
But,
is
like,
that's a
Just
good
be like,
point.
we will catch you. We will catch you.
I will say, like, to that point, though, it is more often than not you catch a cheater. Everyone's a human being, and sometimes things slip through the cracks, and then the community just finds out for us, right? So then we're like, oh well, now we know. There's no greater fear at champ. Like, I'll tell Pro and I after every show we run, we're like, oh God, when we go to dinner, we're like, when are they going to message us and tell us that somebody cheated and we didn't know about it? You know, we just wait. There's that anxiety post-show of finding out that we missed something. Doesn't happen often, but like, everyone's human. There's 17,000, more than that, conventions across the world. There's no way in this planet I could ever know who's won every single contest for every single weekend. Again, everyone does the best that they can, but sometimes somebody will slip through the cracks. And I feel like a lot of the onus gets put on the judges or on the showrunner for not catching that immediately. But sometimes, like, there was that one instance that we all know about that happened, and it wasn't anyone's fault other than the person that cheated. It just happened, right? And everyone kicked it up into a big storm, and it made, honestly, way bigger of a social media impression than I feel like it should have. But kind of to Samir's point, like, I think we just, like, we beat that horse into the ground. But like, I feel like, right, people try their best, and if we catch cheaters, when I'm judging, I will call them out in the middle of judging. Like, hey, that's a tag. So it's really.
I mean, what is your favorite? What's your favorite one?
Because I really, really value integrity of the contest, and I think it's a disservice to the other competitors when somebody else is cheating. So I obviously ask questions, and I like, also an example, like, I saw tag, and I'll just make sure that they said the right thing, because sometimes there's language barriers or explanation issues. Like people get nervous and say the wrong thing. I'm very sensitive to that. But you'll be like, all right, did you make this? Yeah. The whole thing? Mm-hmm. No edits? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I have the information to where I can ask, why is there a tag? And then you let them kind of.
But you call them out in judging?
I will. And it's you don't make it into a big scene. You don't make it into a whole thing. Look, I'm Black. Why would I? I live this life every day with a risk.
Okay, so my thing is I would rather torture them with having to do the entire competition and win nothing.
But see, they won't learn. Better. They're not going to learn, right? You don't learn unless you're held accountable.
Right,
we can have differences of opinion. That's totally fine. Not everyone is bold and brash, and that's okay.
That's fair.
Bold and brash.
I would do it.
Right, bold and brash. I shouldn't say brash, but it really offends me when people
I know what you're saying.
Do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think everyone does it a different way.
Bold and brash, the new favorite spy cons.
Bold and brash.
I do like to give them an opportunity to come. I do like to give them an opportunity to come clean, like how Con said, because like it has happened a lot.
Right.
Because I'm like a total cosplay stalker. Like I follow so many people and I look at all the cosplay builds and anyone who put up templates and stuff, and I look all the templates. Anyone whoever puts out foam templates. A lot of times, like someone would come in front of me and I would already know, oh, this is from the Kinpatsu tutorial, or oh, this is from the Kamui tutorial, or blah blah blah. I can see the costume and I can tell like where the techniques have been picked from. And a lot of times people would be, like, oh no, I made the template myself, even though I can see like the particular shapes and like the choices. No, this is not. And then I have to give them an opportunity to be like, hey, I have seen something similar from like this cosplayer. Like, did you take any influence from them? Did you take any inspiration from them? Blah blah blah. And most of the time, people are like, yeah, I followed their tutorial. Blah blah blah. I tried to copy their style and like make my own template. Some people like they kind of I try to give them a chance to like come clean. And if they do, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I can ask them questions again. But if someone tries to lie still, then yeah.
And I will add too, it's not my place to disqualify people. I just ask the questions when I'm judging, right? Like to Samir's point, we'll ask the questions when we're in there, but I tell the showrunner and then they can make the call for how they're going to handle it. Because as a judge, I think this is another misconception as judges, we're not the executioner, as it were. We're not the ones that have to enforce the rules. We're just there to judge the costume. So if one of our judges came to us and said, hey, this person cheated, they had a tag, just letting you know, it's up to the showrunner to then go and be like, all right, you're disqualified, or, follow up and do what you have to do. I really think people don't learn that they did the thing unless you confront them with it. Like people have different levels of confrontation. That's fine. But I do think on the showrunner side of things, you have to like be okay with conflict and be like, look, you can't do this. This is not okay. This is not the community I want to create here. You got to go, and, mistakes happen. But by and large, I feel like it's kind of like on us to like prevent these things from happening.
I would also
calling it out when we see it.
A lot of people don't even realize that it's a mistake. A lot of people think that that's how it goes because like we have competed so many times, we know what is right, what is wrong. But a lot of times, like people who are competing for the first time, they don't even know that like these things are a problem. Like I didn't know the first time that like, if I get something sewed by a tailor, I should like, say, even though I made the template and stuff, I should like completely say all of that because that didn't happen in India. But first time I went, I was like, oh, I should like mention that, this was made by tailor and like, stuff like that. So a lot of people don't realize that this is wrong. And it's nice to tell them that, okay, this is something you should not do. And then like, to make sure that you don't do something like this again so they can become a better competitor in the future.
There are definitely people who are cheating so hard that they fool really, really amazing judges, right? Like, and then there are people who are probably being lost in nuance, right? They think alter is make and they're kind of in the gray area. And then you have a guy who walks up with a Casey Jones and a Callaway backpack and literally tries to tell me that he made the Callaway golf bag. And you're just looking, like you're just looking at the person like,
yeah, and you have people who walk in without build books with like the most stunning costume you've ever seen. And you're like, oh, you made this? And they're like, oh, yeah.
And I mean, how did you do like there's obvious liars. Sometimes it's really funny. But again, yeah, it's probably like, again, it's not the judge's decision to like people kind of come back on the judges. Sometimes people are really like crafty. Like they spoke to it like completely like they knew what they were doing. They had the right lingo, right? So
one
What was that? All I heard was maximum taco. Did anyone else hear that?
No, I didn't hear that. Like it cracked for me.
I said, and sometimes people will slip up on one thing, and you're just like, they didn't know what they're talking about. They're making it all up.
Maximum taco. Okay.
Maximum taco.
Okay, Amanda, we have to get on this. We have got to go back into this YouTube video and get that little vignette out. And every time
Was it awesome?
It was so great.
That was amazing.
All right. Okay, let's get some questions from the audience since I've been ignoring them. It does go over certain people's faces, so I am sorry, but I have to. I don't know how else to do it. So what goes into what goes into choosing the panel of judges? High key, direct to pros and cons, even though this is over their face, because I think they do a great job with contests they run. Maximum taco.
Maximum taco.
That's so nice. Honestly, I think it just again, every show's different too. Like again, it depends on what your show's strategy is, what the goals are. I think all those things go into effect. But for us, I think it's are you good at what you do, right? Can you go into a room and assess a costume well because of your own experience and knowledge base of that materials? Nothing would be more awkward than being a beginner level and then trying to assess somebody who's, a master level. Like you don't have to necessarily know every technique in the world, but like have some idea of what all of them are and can assess what a good one versus a bad one looks like in a variety of different mediums. Or we comprise a panel so that that's possible. The other thing we look for is your community involvement. I think that's so important. We talk a lot about personality on this stream, but like, are you an asshole? Are you a pariah in the community? Are you like a terrible human being? There are some amazing crafters out there, and some of them are assholes, and so they'll not be asked to be judges, right? And so we want folks who are just good humans, who are good stewards of the community, who are trying to do the right thing, who are going to treat the beginners just as nicely as they're going to treat the masters, and who know what they're doing. So those things really go into our decisions, and lots of people fit those criteria, right? There's just only so many spots per person. I'm going to put that out there too. Not every show is for every single person, and vice versa, but those are just some of the things that we look at for sure.
I'll also throw in there too, there's things outside of our control. So you have it's a whole production that you're trying to put together. It's many different parts. We might have one idea, the budget might have another idea, and things just kind of don't work out. We also listen to the community too. Like Pro said, we do a lot of social listening to like, who is a good cosplayer? We listen to like recommendations from people. If we're thinking of somebody, we might ask another showrunner who's had them and they're like, was this a good experience for you? And they're like, yeah, this person was awesome. So we might bring them on as a result of that, or no, this person was terrible. And we're like, all right, well, great. Now we can save our money. So it's always a conversation about what we're asking, what you provide to the community, what the budget looks like, what the powers that be have. And it depends, different shows, different run. We have different levels of control over different things. And so I think if you're trying to be a good judge, craftsmanship and awards is very important, being able to craft. Social media numbers aren't always the be all end all. It's how good you are in the community, what you provide, like Pro said, like, are you a good steward? Are you going to make the beginners feel as welcome as you do the masters? Do you provide content that makes people feel good about cosplay, right? If you're a drama starter and you've got a bunch of skeletons in your closet, that's going to be more drama that we have to deal with. And nobody wants to do that. So like I said at the beginning of the call, if you're a sore loser behind stage or like back alley chatter and all that other stuff, people talk and like they'll tell us, those kinds of things about people. So it's really important to just be a good human, be a good being, be a good steward to make people want to cosplay and be around you, because you're going to be locked in a room with contestants of all sorts of walks of life, with all sorts of feelings and all sorts of things coming to the judging room. It's not just costumes that you have to deal with, it's people. So if you're not a good people person, then it's okay. Judging might not be for you. But just something to think about. I see some people in the chat pod saying, oh, I want to be a judge too. Just something to think about. It's not just costumes, it's also your ability to connect with others and the good impact you can leave on folks that come in the judging room and the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's another really spicy one that I'm looking for. People are dicks. That is not as spicy.
There was one question that I really liked. There was one question that I liked. Well, I want to hear what your opinions are, because this is a huge point of contention in India. There are people who feel like cosplay competition creates a divide and form of elitism in a community that is meant to be inclusive. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that was the one I was looking for. Thank you, Samir.
Yeah.
You read my mind. So, I mean, there was actually, I think there was another way to, that was actually in that our post about this panel happening. It was like super elitist caddy contest running by repeating circles of friends. I was like, oh,
What are you
that
talking
is-
about?
what do you mean?
Better not be
yeah.
us.
Yeah. So I think that this is probably, they called that one. But yeah, I mean, just I think there is a spirit of elitism. I think that we think we're better than everybody because we compete, because we judge.
Yeah,
so
we do. We do. Yep. Yep. 100%. We're better than everybody, actually.
Oh gosh. You know what? I've never had a bad experience with the crafting community. I have had some really catty experiences with a lot of people, and it has never come backstage. Maybe I just have blinders on. I've never had a judge that wasn't like, Ted the taco guy treat me disrespectfully. I think, the for me anyway, my experiences, the people I've met have been absolutely wonderful. Not saying I have never met a cosplayer on the show floor be catty about some nonsense or drama somewhere like that, but it's always, how did you make that? What did you do with it? Where are you? Oh my gosh, this is so great. I don't know if anybody else. So anyway, that's my experience. I'll shut up.
My problem is people think that like cosplay competition is like the entitlement basically. Like people think that because there's a community cosplay competition, like it's a very community thing, right? Like it is a cosplay competition that everyone deserves a chance to win. Like I don't know what this idea is, because like you can still enjoy cosplay and cosplay competitions. Those are like two completely different things. I think it's because of the recent influence of social media and like how people can now make money from cosplay. I think this increased a lot in the last few years, in like the 5 or 6 years, because even someone who is doing cosplay as a hobby would have so many opinions about people who are doing cosplay as a profession. Like one of the biggest things that I hear, and that's my personal gripe, that's why I brought up this question, is like when people are talking about the inclusivity and like you should cosplay for fun and whatever. Like I cosplay a lot of characters that I have no idea about. Like I did not play. I'm not gonna say things because I like people might comment. There are some cosplays that I have done that I did not play the game, but I just saw the design online. I researched the design. I read about the character and I liked it. But for me, the big thing was that I liked the design and I thought that this design could win a competition. And for me, that is enough. Like I understand passion and everything, but for me, the passion is in the crafting. Like for me, I enjoy the crafting process. Like for me, cosplaying the character is secondary. Like I enjoy crafting, and then whatever I craft, I don't care, right? So like everyone enjoys it in a different way. And like there was this thing for a long time, like in India also, and like some other places where people would be like, oh, you are just like cosplaying this character just to win, and like you're not really like enjoying the cosplay. Like cosplay is meant to be fun. Like who said cosplay is meant to be fun? Cosplay is meant to be whatever you want to do. For me, cosplay is something that I do because I like crafting. So I'm doing stuff that I like to craft, So like I think because of the social media and like everyone wants to be a professional cosplayer now, and that's why when like if someone is like riding a hype train, like if Arcane is gonna come now, like it came now, there's gonna be a lot of Jinx and Y and Caitlyn cosplayers again. But what is your problem with it if someone is trying to jump a hype train? It's their thing. Let people do their own thing, So I think this idea that like cosplay competition brings divide and elitism is it comes from the people who think that they should also win, or like that the prizes should be distributed amongst people. If there's a bunch of friends, they are like I know everyone in a cosplay competition. Like when I go to a judge a cosplay competition now, because because like I said, like I look at I follow so many people, I talk to so many people online. Any cosplay competition I go to in any country, I know every contestant already, I know all the judges already. So like it's because we are passionate about this thing, so that's why we know each other really well. Doesn't mean that we're trying to think that other cosplayers are bad or whatever. You enjoy it in your way, we enjoy it in our way. So this I don't really think that cosplay competition brings elitism. It's just like the people who feel like they should win, because that happened with me a lot in India. Like because I was winning competitions a lot, people were like, you should stop competing, you're not letting other people win, and that's why you're an elitist. I'm like, I want to make money. I want to make money from my skill. What is your problem with that? Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Jealousy.
This
They're
was
jealous.
yeah. So I don't think so. It brings elitism, but yeah, that's why I wanted to hear. Like, what are your opinions?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever like
What are your
faced
yeah.
accusations, something like that?
Amanda, you were talking. Come on.
Yeah,
Do you
I was just
feel like
just
people?
saying people are jealous. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just saying I think people are jealous. I also want to say that social media's algorithms are set up to see a lot of our stuff if you engage with them a lot, and that will connect you with the other people that we engage with. And it just so happens that we're all besties. And so I think a lot of people really start to see groups start to settle, and they're like, well, that's the elite group because this person and this person, this person, this person's connected. But I'm like, well, you're just really engaged with our social media. Thank you. But also, like, it is an even playing ground. We all got to be really good friends because we all started this thing at the same time and just also happened to be located in the same country, you know? So this level of
You
elitism,
compete
I
with
think,
each.
is just, yeah.
Well, I think the friend thing is actually a testament to how cool people are backstage, right? Like you become friends with people because not because they're elitist jerks, but because they're like, weird and awkward and just love the thing that you love just as much as you do, right? I
We
mean, the first
also
time
have
was
like
introduced,
5 hours backstage
yeah,
doing nothing.
you know,
So we
if it
sit
was a
there and
bunch of
talk.
if it was a bunch of elitist jerks, I came up much later than you guys, you would not be talking to me, right? Like it would never be that way, right? I think that it is, I mean, a lot of my friends come from backstage because it's not like that, because we're not like that.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that like not everybody is top level bubbly personality backstage. Like there's a lot of times where I get in my head and I sit and I need quiet for an hour. And if somebody happens to look at me and my face is frowning, they're like, "Oh, she might be like she might be a bitch or something like that, like crazy." I'm like, no, like
I'm in pain.
I'm in pain. Of course it hurts. I haven't eaten in 8 hours.
I haven't peed in 12 hours.
Yeah,
and I can't pee for another 3.
That also goes with judging, and I hear this a lot with some people that are like, "Oh, well, I just walked past like Casey's booth and she was like frowning, so she must not be in a good mood and doesn't want to be here." I'm like, we are human beings. Calm down. Calm it. If I am frowning, it's probably because I'm hungry. I can't get away from my booth. I just think people need to take a little step back and just realize that we're all human and we all are artists and we started at the same level. And we just, some of us pushed ourselves to this direction. Some people pushed themselves to that direction. This is the direction that I wanted to be in, and I'm happy to be here.
Anybody else, lady? I don't. Anybody else have anything
Brittany,
on what?
You're mute,
Brittany,
darling.
you can't. You're on mute. What are you doing?
Sorry. Some of the they kind of just are a bunch of people who came up in the same circle and all kind of pushed each other to continue competing and stuff, and then they just kind of keep getting better and better, and maybe they are then considered elite. I don't know, but really they're just cosplayers. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but low key, if I get into a contest, I'm like, Brittany's here. Oh, damn it.
Same though.
Depends on the day. It depends on the day. Okay, sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's Casey. Sometimes it depends on the day.
Exactly.
You know this.
I turned around and saw Brittany backstage at C2E2, and I was like, backstage. Like, we all walk in and we're like, oh God, or I'll ask somebody. I'll be like, hey, when are you going for SuperCon? Dover.
Yeah, there's gonna be one day where all.
Yeah, when's your next one? I want to skip your year. I mean,
yeah, I do that sometimes.
I just don't want to compete against any of you, to be honest.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I just want to not think about the fact that I know that one of my friends who's really, really good is going to be competing. So then I ask them, and I'm just like, all right, I don't need to do that one. It's fine. It's fine. I'll just it's fine. I don't need to lose to them today.
What's really hard is having so many friends that compete in such these contests and not being able to talk to them about how amazing their work is online, or because I like to save it for competition day. Like if I know that a friend of mine is going to be, or even somebody that I follow is building something for a competition that I'm going to be judging, I make a point of like trying my best to ignore what they're building, which is hard, but I think it's important to give everybody the same chance.
This is you. So.
Oh, I thought you guys were all frozen.
No. Did I freeze everybody with the thing? No.
I will actually even like tell them too. Like I think it was TwitchCon with Brittany. I was like, hey, I'm a judge, so I'm not going to be looking at any of your content, and I'm not going to be engaging, and I can't be a cheerleader because I have to judge you.
Yep.
And so like I'll just be really honest, because I also am so like I care so much about Brittany that I don't want her to think I'm not her friend. Like
there was also the C2E2 the one year where you were competing, but I was judging, and I'm literally like, I really want to say hi to Casey, but I haven't seen her costume yet. So this is how we're going. And there's a picture of us.
There's a picture of it. It's like my favorite.
Because I didn't want it to look like I was biased. So
yeah, she was literally...
that was the length.
It's like one of my favorite photos of us ever. It's so funny.
Yeah, you guys seem really elitist, by the way.
We are.
We're very elitist.
We're very elitist. Brittany and I will literally tell each other, you have to do this better because, or what was it? You told me I had to make a prop. She's like, you have to make a prop, Casey. I know you don't want to, but you have to make a prop.
Yep. I was like, that's the one extra thing you have to do. You got to do it.
And I did it.
Let's do something fun for the, like,
are we going to tell our liar stories?
You could tell liar stories. You could tell, when you like had a faux pas on stage or something like that. Yeah, let's do liar stories, I guess. That'd be fun. We'd love that. Go for it. You started it off. Now you're up.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
You get to go first.
You get to go first, Mexican taco, or whatever you said. I don't.
I said, who wants to go first?
Yeah, you. You go first. You. Can you not hear me?
Okay. Well, it's kind of like this. Can you hear me okay right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One of the ones that wasn't at one of the bigger competitions, it was me, another female cosplayer, and then there was a drag queen with us. So one of us was extremely outspoken, which made it even more fantastic. There was a person who came in who was a novice. They very obviously like made parts of it, and there was other parts that were obviously store-bought. And I'm just like, because the level of craftsmanship difference was just night and day. And so they were like, oh yeah, made the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then the drag queen walks around them, just touches a seam here, touches a seam there, and then the coat that they're wearing, which is obviously store-bought, they literally take the back of the tag area, flip it, see that there's a tag, and just says, okay, thank you.
Oh, well, at least
it was wonderful. And then with the other person who was with us, there was like the front of the coat, how it's like the zipper and then just like opens. So the opening, she flipped it just to like look under, and there was the two buttons on the bottom that were like sewn in from the manufacturer. And she's like, so did you put these here? And she's like, oh yeah, I was told by my instructor that you always sew in extra buttons at the bottom. So that person didn't win anything. So
does anybody else have a really good liar story? Come on. I said there would be two.
I have a question in the chat that I really like if you guys want to look at it.
Is it, which one? Is it this one?
Do you judge a cosplay in your realm of expertise harder than the one outside of it?
Wait, what was the question again?
Do you judge a costume in the realm of your expertise harder than one outside of it?
I will certainly ask more questions. Like if it is
probably
sewing based, I will definitely be asking questions like crazy. I don't know if I judge it harder. I just gather more information.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Because I also rely on my other judges sometimes if I'm not up to date on certain things. Like 3D printing and I are still struggling with you, Beverly. But I'm like, I will confer with my other judge and go back and forth on stuff.
Yeah, I think it definitely happens a lot of time that, like, because I have very extremely limited sewing experience. So like I've seen a lot of competition and I get a lot of work done because I work in the industry and I work with tailors and I work with like sewing people all the time. So I do know what is going on, like the techniques, the patterns and whatever. But like I personally don't have that much experience. But so I get impressed by like sewing costume much more easier than like an armor, because when in armor, like when I'm looking at armor, I'm like looking at, okay, even if to like because it has happened, like a sewing person would be much more impressed by an armor that, like, if like, because we're talking about high level competitions, like the judges are not biased. If they would see like an armor costume, they would be more impressed by it than sometimes me, because I would be like, okay, I know it looks complicated, but it's just layering. Like the template was not difficult. It's just like, sticking things on top of each other, and it's not really difficult to template that compared to some like, like really difficult shapes when the armor is like really organic or whatever. So a lot
That's
of
why
times
it's
it
super
does.
important to have like judges that know different things.
Yeah.
I think all of us, like if you've been judging and you've been competing, like I can pick out bad sewing. I know when something isn't done well, but being able to really judge like a excellent technique, or being able to decipher whether or not this particular technique was extremely hard or not, I can't do that. So that's why you look at you look at your sewing judge and they're like, yeah, that's really hard actually. Like, no, like that's crazy. Or, I don't know, Casey, you were talking about like they laced the hem or something like that. They're like, oh, that's a really crazy, theater technique.
Oh yeah.
So
I wanted to add to the little footnote to that is some advice that a competitor said online. I wish I could remember who said this, but they like to look. So if they're entering a competition and they see the judges and they see that maybe the judges don't, it's not like a well-rounded panel of judges, which, by the way, everyone that's watching, the judges don't have any like they have been invited to the show, and most of the time the other people who have also been invited to be the judges those decisions have already been made, and so we are just working together towards the same goal. So we most of the time we don't have any control over who is on the panel of judges, and so sometimes there will be more more of an like the people that are on the panel will have more experience in XYZ rather than something else. So if you're a competitor, this one person suggested that look at who is going to be judging, and if you need to tailor your let me tell you about my costume to very briefly explain the complicated thing that you did for the thing that maybe they might not know. That is always appreciated. I always love having that. That very small, it doesn't have to be a long speech about how you made the thing, but point it out to us and tell us why it's so significant. And convince us that it's significant, because if the panel does not contain someone who understands that language, you need to help us out a little bit and bridge that gap. Just a little tool I wanted to share for competitors.
Yeah, it's funny because like something like that. But that's actually a really good point, because I think because it has happened with me a lot, like especially like in a few American conventions where like sewing people would come and they would know, like, you can see my work. I'm a armor guy. They would come in the competition and they would completely ignore me in the judges' room. They would be like just like looking at the two sewing judges and they'd be like, who is this guy? We don't give a shit about him. And like they would just like talk to the two sewing people to the point that even if I ask a question, they would be like, oh, like not. So
That's
like
just
I think
disrespectful.
That's just
yeah. But it does happen. It does happen. Like, so what she's saying is a really good point. Like if you see a judge which might not be like from your realm of expertise or whatever, or you might think that they might need some more explanation. I'm not saying that you should always do it, but like if you think that something is a selling point, then you should like tell it to all the judges. It's like, because even though, and I also want to point out that even though like I am an armor guy, but I can like Avera said, I can tell what is good sewing. And even if like Casey or Jedi are like sewing people, they can tell what is a good prop, what is like what good armor work. Like we can see the brush strokes, we can see the zigzaggy lines. So we understand stuff because we have judged so much that like you gain knowledge just by judging also. I have gained so much information from my co-judges. over the last few years. Like I've learned so much about like sewing and all the different techniques.
I don't know much, but I know a zigzag stitch is not going to work on denim.
Can I jump in and answer a question?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right. So, Cat of Diamonds said, "What is a recent experience that reaffirmed your joy in the craft or hobby?" And I think this is a good one because it's easy to pick out cheaters and all the things that go wrong. But for me, in my situation of life, I'm always looking for what brings joy. So for me, it was a kid that came in recently, and sorry if I get a little teary. So they had come into me after they were judging, and I didn't recognize them. And apparently I had judged them years before whenever they were in a junior stage. And they said, I really appreciated what you said before. And I guess I come to the feedback panel and I gave them feedback. And it said they told me it's what made them want to keep cosplaying. And so they had entered again and they won their thing.
Yay.
I'm sorry, I have a lot of life things. So this is always very important for me. I always ask, especially at my job because I'm a manager, if somebody is at a crossroads and trying to figure out what they want to do, I ask if it brings joy. And if it doesn't, there's no reason to keep going. And so we go to the next thing. So for me, it's about bringing joy to the competitors and making them want to keep coming back and keep creating more things. And so I had come across this quote recently, and I say it, this is the quote that always makes me a little bit teary, but I think it's important. If there's anything that I can do to contribute to this conversation, it's to make people feel welcome. This is not elitist. I'm a regular person with a regular life. And the only reason I got into competition was because I wanted to be around other people, and it was welcoming. So this is the quote. This is the true joy of life, the being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. And so I know that's a really sad way for me to end this, and actually I haven't stepped in a whole lot today because it's good to listen. But to remember the joy in competing and being around people and being in the community, because after the competition, you can usually find yourself with a group of people who remind you of why you do it all. And so I thank you all as my cosplay family, everyone who's listening, everyone who's here with me today. This is what keeps me going right now, whether or not I compete, but giving back to the community. And so I hope if you ever want to be a cosplay judge that you remember it's about what you're giving back. Everything that you put on social media is what you're giving back. They owe you nothing. The world owes you nothing, but you can make it so much better with what you give it. So I hope that's not too sad. I know that I'm crying, but it's because I feel very,
it's amazing. It's absolutely perfect, literally.
Thanks, guys. So that's the only thing I can add, and just that I'm happy and I feel very privileged to be in this group.
I feel privileged to be in this group.
I feel
It's 5 a.m. over there. Thanks for waking up.
I can't even believe people agreed to come on here with me.
It's making me feel very elitist right now.
Honestly, like what Plexi said, perfect. The fact that I'm here proves that I'm not elitist. And basically the first time, like I said, when I came from India, there was a lot of like I was talking before, there was a lot of because it's still a really new thing over here. So I think it has changed a lot in the last few years. But when I came first time, I was I started looking at competitions outside India because in people in India were getting slightly slightly, like unfriendly towards me because I was competing a lot and winning a lot. And I felt that okay, when I came to US to C2E2 the first time, I came with my guard up. I was like, okay, all these people would be like, why is he here? Or like, I did not know what to expect because I had not had a conversation. I still followed cosplays outside, but I did not had a conversation before. And then at backstage, Brittany was with me next to me, and like she was in her like amazing. Was it Warlock? Warlock, right?
It was a World of Warcraft paladin thing.
Yeah, paladin costume. Yeah, like she was in her like
something
amazing paladin costume. Casey was also there. There was like so many cool people like standing next to me, and they were all like talking to me so nicely. I was like, I was not ready for this. Like I was there like with my boxes up, like that. Like if anyone like says something shady, I'm gonna like shit talk America or something. But everyone was so nice. Everyone was so nice, and everyone like made me felt so comfortable and friendly. Then I was like, okay, and that's like this is coming back to the question. Like it reaffirmed like I was at a point where I was like starting to not enjoy cosplay competitions or crafting as much because every time I would put up something, I would see that people were unhappy, and that was like a small group because we were like a small group of competitors back then. But then when the world opened up for me and like I saw and I talked to people from everywhere, it was like I feel lucky that I get to do this like every day. Like I would not change anything that has happened in my life. Like this is the most awesome thing that I get to do, and yeah. I love you, Plexi. You're amazing.
There you go. We came here for tea. Ended up crying. No, you're amazing. I think it's important because I think you've also, there's one in here that I think is kind of like specific to is dealing with imposter syndrome. Is that I know that you wanted to, you've been pretty open about not necessarily wanting to compete anymore, not sure what you're going to do. I think, we talk about it, about cosplay, and we all seem like we're just like this force that is going in one direction, and we are always competing, and we're always making, and we're always content creating. But, between imposter syndrome and just burnout, I think, we all deal with those things. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? Or if you don't, I mean, it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't.
I think it's really tough, I think, as a creator to just get past your own head. And I think as artists, we're all passionate about what we do, and we really respect everyone else in the community. So you're like, oh my God, like, someone like, oh, yay, thank you. You're really passionate about your work, and you're like, oh God, I can't believe it's me. And I think even like this picture is a great example. I had a very out of body experience, like, is this watching myself be in London was wild, right? Like you just like, and I kind of had to just take myself out of it, or I'd have like an anxiety meltdown every 5 seconds, right? Because you just feel like, how did I get here? Like, how did me crafting alone in my underwear at 2 a.m. and get to the point where I'm representing the USA, right? Or getting to walk across any stage. And I think it's just one of those things as artists you just have to deal with. Finding a really good support system. Again, going back to Casey's point earlier, of like people who are going to gas you up in the DMs, be like, look, you deserve it, you made it. Do the thing crying, I was on the plane, sobbing my eyes out, Cod saw the entire time, and she's like, okay, but you gotta get off the plane. So like, it's just one of those things I think is just always in the back of your mind as a crafter. And it's just so important to have a good support system, keep track of all the really happy things that happen. I do that. I started keeping a happiness folder because it's real easy to get jaded when you watch the online comments sometimes for yourself or other people. And I think that really helps you get through it. But at the end of the day, the imposter syndrome just kind of back there. I just do it crying, and we get there.
I don't think if it's ever gonna go away from me. It's gonna always be there, right? Like that's just a thing, right? It doesn't matter how many. So, what do you anchor to? The art, the friendships, the memories, the white claws, and the tears, and being backstage and the hugs, and you anchor to the. Oh my God, Plexi, you really have to stop crying.
I feel imposter syndrome all the time, but like I feel like when I feel imposter syndrome, I make sure that I do my best to like justify me being there, and I think that's the only way I know how to deal with it. Like pros and like I judged pros and cons in like in UK when she came there, and I was like, what? Like there was so many amazing people there, and like when I saw her costume also, I was like, what am I doing here? But then like the thing is, trust the people who have trusted you, who have brought you on the panel, and then do your best. So like I actually try to like overperform. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna like, if someone has trusted me with such a huge responsibility and like, you know, such a great honor, like if I feel like I don't deserve it, I do my best to basically make sure that the people who have hired me don't feel like I don't deserve it. So that's the only thing I like try to do. That's
I
the
have
only
to
way I
add,
know how to deal with it.
I
This
fangirled
one
when I saw you were judging, so it's just the feeling is very mutual. Like, Samantha's gonna be here. The same thing when.
This one I wanted to make sure because it passed me and I didn't catch it while your picture was up about your big one there. So I just wanted you to see that. Make sure you saw that.
Thank you.
And I want to like point out too, like it is a different kind of imposter syndrome when you're already from a minoritized community going into like a stage like that. Like I watched Pro go through it. Like it was, I get emotional thinking about it too, but like it was a lot, right? It was a huge responsibility being somebody from the Black community representing us. Because, you know, you see from the community, you're like, all right, there's one of us out there. But sometimes to the outside community, you become a mouthpiece for your entire racialized group. That doesn't happen for like a lot of other cosplayers, right? Like if you're a minority or a minoritized person or a marginalized person, you sometimes inadvertently become like the mouthpiece, and that's a ton of pressure. Like, and I think like Pro was really feeling that. She's like, oh my God, like are people going to think poorly of me for like, you know, what if I don't do well and like all this other stuff? Like, am I going to make the Black cosplay community look bad? Like it was all these feelings, and a lot of it's like nonsense and like stuff that's in your head. Not that it wasn't valid, but like it's stuff that just replays in your head because we go through the same things that we go through in regular life. So it's twice as hard because you're always wondering, you know, do they bring me here as like a diversity hire? Am I here because I'm supposed to be here? Like, it's incredibly tough to get through that. But like Pro said, you just do it crying. You know, the contract has been signed, so I'm showing up regardless. And you got to do the best you can to represent the community in a way that makes you feel whole and that you hopefully inspire others and can make a good lasting impact. But therapy helps. Having a good therapist is really important. Can't emphasize mental health and taking care of your wellness. Again, having a really good support system is really helpful too. People are going to be people and say things and comment stuff, but truly, like, you just have to really just push through and just do it scared, do it crying, do it sad, do it worried, and just get through it and do the best you can.
Yeah. I personally love pumping up my friends. So if anybody ever needs a little lift or they're suffering from imposter syndrome, just call me and I will talk to you for as long as it takes until you don't want to hear my voice anymore, because it's one of my love languages. It's always rooted in honesty, especially pros and cons. We're going to have a conversation about your amazing build once again someday. I swear. But
yeah, you literally have two of your judges in here, and I think Tris is actually in the chat.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I also wanted to say that like we're talking about imposter syndrome and how we deal with it, and I actually like to find other outside resources, like even a TED Talk on YouTube. Those kinds of things are really, really, really useful because they're not about cosplay. They're about, most of the time, they're not about cosplay. They're about just regular imposter syndrome. And they're people that are like rocket scientists, and they deserve to be in the room. And I think that was, I have to re-listen to those things over and over again because it is a constant exercise for me to remember that I belong in the room. And I would say the same thing to the person standing next to me. And I have to remember that flips both ways, that I deserve to be in the room because I also want the other person next to me to be in the room. So it's a constant exercise. It's never going to go away, like we're all saying, but use the resources, use each other, practice lifting each other up. It feels really good. Makes you feel better too. That's my advice.
I ran into Casey. I ran into Casey and Beverly on the way to FNCC at
Yes.
Con. And let me tell you, if you ever want a hype train for my build, you know, or I saw Plexi at BlizzCon too. Like if you run into other creators and you're on your way to a contest, there is no bigger hype train. It's like choo choo. You suddenly feel like $1 million, even though you know it's not that great.
Great. I don't know what you're talking about. You looked so good.
It's like you're walking downstairs. The first time you put a costume on for the day or whatever, and you're like, the first thing I said to my husband is, "This looks like crap." And then you see Casey and Beverly, and you're like, "Oh,
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's go! I'm going. I'm gonna kill
To
this
be honest,
stage.
like to be honest, just the people following here, like cured some of my imposter syndrome. Like when Beverly noticed me, when like she followed me back, I'm like, imposter
Oh
syndrome
my
cured.
gosh.
Senpai noticed me.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh,
There are. Anybody want to go? Let's do something fun to end it, because I know we all have families and and I think we might need to have a part 2 someday or something like that. Jedi Amanda is yawning. I'm gonna call you Amanda someday, and not Jedi Amanda. I don't know.
Yeah, Amanda,
Amanda.
Jedi, all fine. It's cool. Star Wars is just okay.
But let's do like your most embarrassing moment at a cosplay competition. That's always a great way to kind of get people laughing. Hopefully, it involves urine. Yeah.
What?
I actually asked this question once, and a guy said his most embarrassing moment at cosplay costume contest was when he went to the bathroom next to Jake the Snake Roberts on the floor, and it was literally like the funniest thing I'd ever heard.
Oh my god.
It was like I was
Yeah.
like, wait, how is that? I was like, that's amazing. But I'm just saying, like, hopefully it's you have a funny story. If not, then this is just gonna end.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
I have
funny.
it's not really embarrassing, but half of my Anastasia crown is still somewhere in Atlanta because I spun way too hard on stage and it flew off.
See,
What
the
about-
stage doesn't matter. By the time you get to the stage, everything is already decided, right? Isn't that
It's fine.
What about like a backstage moment?
sure?
I-
Have it.
I had like one experience recently. I don't know if it is embarrassing. But like I was judging something in Australia, and I went to the washroom, and in the stall next to me, Giancarlo Esposito was standing while pissing, and I was like, okay, and I was like, okay, I need to not panic, and like acted completely normal, and then I like finished up quickly because I didn't want to miss him. I went outside and I waited for him. I was like, okay, when he comes out, I'm gonna ask for a picture. He came out and he said no, and I was really sad.
He said no.
And he said no. He was like, no.
No.
The funny thing is, like 1 hour later, I was also having the lunch with him in the same room, but I did not like look at him. I'm like, okay, he's not gonna let me take a picture now, anyways.
Yeah.
I left in an
funny.
ambulance once, but that wasn't that funny. But because Pat's in the chat right now, he knows he like actually had to alter the rules for MegaCon to include the fact that you can't be in physical distress and still go on stage and leave in an ambulance. But the funniest thing was when I was a novice and I didn't know how to make anything, so I just made my entire She-Ra armor, all one skirt, everything, and then I had to go to the bathroom. And my husband looked at me. He's like, well, what do you have to do? I go, just take it all off. And so you saw a 40-year-old woman in a She-Ra wig running in her Spanx and corset, bolting it down backstage with some really amazing people who won that. It was great. So always plan.
I rented a car in half of Sikizo because I like only had so much time to get to the car, like rental, get the car, and Alex was with me, and they were all like, I had like the wig cap on, but then like the legs in like the tights with the corset, so like it just was this like they were like, I like your boots, and I was like, oh god, I just want to get to the car.
Oh hey.
But they ended up watching the contest, so that was pretty cool.
That's very cool. Did you have like
gosh,
the
I love
mole
that.
and everything?
Yes,
on?
everything, the whole face makeup, everything. It was all done. It just like it was not.
Oh my gosh.
Look, all right. And we had to take an Uber in it to get to the car rental.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I once
There you go. Can I have your car, please?
Yes, but
my
not as glamorous as that.
Go ahead, Beverly.
I once Adam Savage came. This is before I like really like before he would see me and recognize me without me saying, "Hey, I'm so and so." So he came to my town, to my local convention, and we we waited in line to see him, and I had been wearing hella that day, which is like so much makeup, but I had taken it off and I put regular clothes on, and I had like a big giant dent from where the helmet was. In my hair, I have helmet hair, but like the giant makeup was a mess because I tried to like clean some of it off. So I go up to say, "Hey Adam, it's me, Beverly," and I realize afterwards that I looked like a fucking raccoon that had been crying for days. I looked so terrible. I was like, oh my God. Like my lipstick was doing that thing where it was just all the way around the edge of my lips. Oh my God, it was horrible. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
I have a really bad day. The time
Yeah,
that
and
I was.
remember-
But
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say the time that I was in an ambulance and then got to the emergency room, I still had all my Maleficent makeup on, but like nothing else really.
Nice.
And so the lady, the nurse checking me in was like, "Well, there's a story here," and I was like, "You think there's a story?" It's like all like gray and pale.
Oh my gosh.
Wig cap on.
Our lives
Yeah.
our lives are so interesting, you guys.
Are we just
Something
doing cosplay
Yeah.
fail stories?
I don't
or
care.
cosplay,
Whatever you want to
like,
tell.
it
If you
doesn't
want to
really
tell me about
matter?
how you fell out of the window last weekend, I just want to laugh. Like, yeah,
I-
anything.
I don't feel like
Whatever.
I have very many good ones, to be honest. I usually just see things and I'm just like, that's hilarious. But when I was backstage at C2E2, the year that Cowbutt Crunchies won, I was
Mhm.
dressed in like the big troll getup. And I was just like standing there, we're like waiting to go back on stage or whatever. And my legs went completely numb. And I'm like, this is not a thing that I normally experience. So this is my first time wearing the costume because that's just what I do. I never do test runs of my costumes. I just wear them the day of. The weight of the belt holding the rest of my costume on had just like cut off the circulation to my legs, and me standing there for too long, I didn't have circulation anymore. So my legs went numb, and then I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Am I dying? And so I'm like lifting up my belt and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm all right. I'm not dead. So it's not much, but it's something.
That's something. If you're not
It's something.
That's something.
I could have died.
I had
you know,
something
I
like
don't
that.
know.
Like I had something like this happen. Like I'm not proud of it, but like this was like with my Skyrath costume that I came to C2E2 in 2017, and but it was in India, like when we were competing, and just before going on stage, my leg armor, like all the because at that time that was my first like proper like big foam armor, like complete foam armor, so I didn't know a lot of things. I was still figuring out stuff. I just stuck my like Velcro and the nylon strap with just contact cement. And just before going on stage, just before I'm talking about, as they were announcing the person before me going on stage, my everything like on my leg armor came off, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? And I literally had like maybe like 1 minute, the just the time, or that the guy is going to walk on stage and the announcer is going to talk about him. I had just that much time, and I literally had like a masking tape next to me. I was in my costume. I just taped the armor and taped the like the leg armor on like together on my leg because the straps came off. And I had like because I was like doing some weathering stuff backstage on that morning. I basically took the brown paint that was on my leg and I just painted on the masking tape. That's all I did. I just basically taped the armor to my leg and just like painted on the masking tape and went on stage and won the competition. So I'm not really proud of it, but yeah, that is probably the closest I've ever come to dropping the ball.
All right. Well, if nobody else has any embarrassing moments, I think we can just kind of go into a goodbye, give plugs to everybody who's been listening. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you, everybody who is on this panel. You're all amazing. Inspire me every day. Inspire so many people in the community. And, not to make anybody like start tearing up again, but like, I think a lot of people, you don't realize how much impact you have on people until you really start to get, you start to go out in the community and someone says, oh my God, this changed me, or this build that you did, or whatever. And it's almost like, oh, wow, yeah, what I am making, it matters. My art matters, and everybody on this panel, your art matters, if to the people who are watching, to the people who follow you, the things that you make stay with us. So. All right. Anybody want to go around and give your plugs and your books and anything else? If you have a 30% off deal going on right now for Cyber Monday. Lexi, do you want to start? Or you could just say goodbye in a really amazing way if you want to instead.
I don't write no books. I don't sell no thing. No, I have some things, but it don't matter. I don't care. You can come find me online, Flexi Cosplay. I do some workshops and stuff. I'm an open book. If you ever have questions, message me. I don't sell nothing. I'm sorry.
Do you still have t-shirts? Do you have t-shirts in your shop?
Nope. But I have all
Yes,
these.
please. I need
books,
t-shirts from everyone.
and I buy all their photos and things. So I highly recommend doing that. Yeah. Thanks for letting me cry on camera, everybody, in my bathrobe.
Yeah.
It's been a great time. We've all had a good time.
I
Enjoyed
love you so much. I truly love you so much. You have no idea.
I appreciate you. Thanks, guys.
All right, Brittany, go.
Oh, I also don't sell anything, but sometimes I guess sometimes you'll see me doing the judging competition thing, and I hope to do more competitions in the future, because competitions are honestly the best thing, even though we talked about like kind of a lot of the negative parts. Really, the overwhelming majority of competitions is like the good stuff. So expect to keep seeing me do anything with competitions in the future. Brittany Ganoza costuming online. I have all the things. So
Brittany.
Go, Casey.
Is it my turn? Okay, I'm gonna pitch my book again. Go buy my book, Cosplay Foundation. Yeah.
Buy her a book. Buy her a book.
And then I'm on YouTube as well, and Instagram, and that's it. Like, buy my book, take my online how to sew pain in the ass fabrics class. That's what my dog just told me to tell you guys. Yeah, I have online courses on my website. Check it out.
Amanda, go. Yeah, we're going like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm Jedi Amanda everywhere. I have 2 books. They are available on my website, JediAmanda.com, or on Amazon if you want to throw money to the Bezos. I just started another Rhaenyra build because apparently I can't get out of Westeros. So come follow that. And yeah, Jedi Amanda out.
I'm Samir Tikka Masala. That's my user handle. You can see here, like, find me. I have been meaning to make templates, sell templates and stuff for a while, but I just procrastinating or like not finding time. But eventually I will someday. But yeah, I don't sell books, but I'm in Beverly's book, which is the greatest accomplishment of my life. So definitely go buy that book. It's probably the best book on armor crafting. Like there are things in there that I have not seen. So like that's amazing. I'm in that book. Go buy that book.
You are. I should find you. I'm not gonna find you this quickly. Oh my gosh. Okay, if I had been more prepared, I would have had you in where? No. Okay, not gonna find it. Sorry, everybody. Here's my book. I'm Beverly. You can find me at Downen, DOWNEN, anywhere on socials.
I think I'm on the second or third page.
Yeah, you're like at the very beginning. But yeah, I love teaching people the things that I know, the things that I've learned. Like, I didn't start crafting knowing all the things, and so this is my way of giving back. So my DMs are usually open on Instagram. If you're stuck on a project, come ask me if I can help you. And sometimes I can. Sometimes I know who might be able to help you. I really like to do that. And if I meet you at a competition and I'm judging you, I want you to know that I love your costume. I love every ounce of what you have put into it, and that it is a genuine like desire of mine to do a good job for you. And that is what I take very seriously as being a competition judge, to be present there. I'm present for you. And so I just want to make sure that that is conveyed before I go. And come see me online. I'm very friendly. And if you see me at a convention, come say hi. I'm just a regular potato human. I want to make more friends at conventions. So yeah, come say hi to me. And thanks for being here.
Oh geez, how do I follow that? Wow, whoever said barbecue sauce sucks, it's on site, okay? It's on site. So my closing statement is that barbecue sauce.
You know it was me that put that in there. You know
Was it you?
it was
Okay.
me.
Avera is my cosplay nemesis because she doesn't like barbecue sauce, and I am from barbecue sauce country, and that's very important to me. So it's coming. I'm making a barbecue sauce cosplay. Just you wait. One day. But no, truly, cosplay competitions, the cosplay community has done so much to help develop me as a person. I've learned so much about business, about crafting, about how to interact with other people, just other things that you just couldn't learn without being involved in such a creative and just unique community. And I'm just thankful every day that I get to do the things I do. Even days where I'm like annoyed and hate everything and want to just like throw a cover over my head and run away. Cosplay will always be a part of me because it's shaped so much of my personality, what I've been able to do and what I've been able to accomplish. I've been able to do so many cool things and meet so many great people. I hope that from this, this conversation that you've learned that, cosplay competitions can be what you make it. It can be a horrible experience if you go in with a bad attitude. It can be an amazing experience where you can meet some of the most talented creators in the community, and just become friends with those folks. Like I've met so many amazing people around the world just from cosplay, and you can do that too. And it's okay if competing is not your thing, right? I love competing because I'm competitive but not athletic. And I think it's a fun way for me to flex that. But if you don't like that kind of pressure, it is okay. Competing and winning awards is not the make of a good cosplayer. It's just one way to enjoy the medium of creating and crafting and fandom. So anyway, Pros and Cons Cosplay. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Pros and Cons Cosplay. And we'll be at, many of the conventions here and there. So please definitely come say hi. We love chit-chatting about all things cosplay.
That's not fair. I don't know how to follow you and Beverly. I'll add that the non-zero number of people who thought Con and I are the same person. We were two people, so that's super cool. Hopefully you learned that today. But no, truly, I couldn't agree more with everything everyone has said. This is a great community full of a lot of amazing people. For anyone who was here just to listen to us get excited and hyped up and amped about talking about cosplay, I think that in and of itself is indicative of just how exciting the community can be, how much fun it can be. So I hope if we're ever cross paths, please say hi. I love to meet and talk about costumes and other nerdy things. So loved that opportunity and just getting to interact with such phenomenal creators. You can find me in the same place that you can find Con, hence the confusion that we are not the same person. But you, Pros and Cons Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever else. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been great being here. Thanks, Avera, for hosting this.
She's muted.
You're on mute, Avera.
Oh, wow. That's an awkward way to end this stream. And I think it's fitting. I think it's really meaningful. No, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Till the next time. Bye, guys. Thank you.
If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out other episodes of the Cosplay Alliance Podcast. The Cosplay Alliance Podcast is also available in audio format on all major podcast